Quiet, everyone.
Councilman Phillips.
Here.
Councilman Casella.
Here.
And Supervisor Person.
Here. Everyone, please rise for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Everyone, please be seated. First item is the agenda. I'd like, there's two items. One is that we have on the agenda, but it's further back, the item relating to the resolution for the Historical Society because Beth Devine and some of the members of the Historical Society are here. I'd like to propose that when we come to the resolutions, we move it up first.
That's fine.
To do that. So that's one amendment. And then later on, Jessica will have one which she sent out an email on the yoga instructor to replace the unfortunately, the person who passed away, our previous instructor. So, and then we may adjust a little bit in the discussion, items, but the order of them. So with that being said, do I have a motion to amend?
Move to accept.
I'll second it.
I guess first we move to amend.
Correct.
Second.
And then second, all in favor?
Aye.
Then a motion to adopt the amended.
I'll make a motion to adopt the amendment.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Seeing any nays, no nays or abstentions, the motion passed. The next item is a motion to acknowledge the minutes of the August 23rd, 2021 meeting.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Okay, I'll start off with some comments. First, I welcome our young folks, parents, and concerned residents tonight. This is, I assume you're here to talk about the agenda item that I put on as number 3 for discussion. So we look forward to your comments and participation. But the board is certainly very saddened by Ryan's passing, but also we're very concerned. It's not the first time we've had people raising concerns about the left-hand turn lanes and signs, unfortunately, but we'll talk a little bit more about it. Most of that's in county roads, but I think the board is certainly more than willing to listen and make recommendations to county or other officials. So we'll get into that. I first want to thank our residents, first responders, and the elected officials and others who attended our 9/11 20th anniversary ceremony. Special thanks to Councilman Bill Beal and the committee that put that together. Anthony Segretti, as we mentioned at the ceremony, and then also Mike Sheehan, who's our highway superintendent, for actually the excellent job when Bill and I kind of cracked the whip and said we have only a few days to get it done. And thanks to Tim Moot, Tim, your engineering team, really pulled that together quite well. And now it makes it, I think, a great place. I've gotten, so I'm sure everybody has compliments on that. So again, thanks, to the team. I want to remind everyone that we are going to have our Community Day. That's going to be October 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. That's Columbus holiday weekend. And though you'll be seeing more information on that, but we have a lot of things planned throughout that weekend, as well as a parade. If anybody is interested in participating in the parade, Jessica Fulton I also have applications. You have to submit an application to participate in the parade. The parade will be down Myers Corner Road starting, what's the name of that building complex? Bill, what do we call it?
Well, we call it Laird Hall.
Laird Hall,
Yeah.
Okay, just down the street going south along west going Myers Corner Road, and then we'll end around Slaughterhouse Park.
So just one other comment. So Jessica needs the applications in by October 1st. So if you are planning to be a part of the parade, please make sure you get your application in by October 1st.
Exactly. I want to just give a couple brief updates. One is with respect to COVID, to use the words of our county executive from a phone call earlier today that I and I believe Bill participated on. He's guardedly optimistic that our numbers have been stabilizing. We are seeing an increase in vaccination rates, so that's been positive. The number of active cases, hospitalizations have been ranging within a relatively small number range. So, and if Bill has anything else he'd like to contribute when I'm done speaking, then I welcome that. We do have a number of upcoming clinics. There's going to be, a Duchess County immunization clinic. All this information's on the county website. There is a Village of Red Hook and also Hyde Park. And then special clinics will be with respect to back to school. The county is sponsoring, hosting 5 different, clinics. For us here in Wappinger, Wappinger Central School District, they call it Wappinger's Wednesdays on September 15th, 22nd, and 29th from 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. That will be held at the Wappinger's Administrative Office Boardroom on 20 Corporate Drive, Hopewell Junction, New York. And then other days in other school districts. But again, Wappinger's Wednesdays on the 15th, 22nd, and 29th of the month. So anybody that's looking for that, then a vaccination, and please turn out for that. Also very important, and Bill, I'll ask you when I'm done commenting to comment some more on it, but with respect to Hurricane Ida, that was a depression, I guess, by the time it hit here and depressed all of us, that had to work very hard and also, more importantly, suffer a lot of damage. Ida did do a lot of damage within the town, largely within a couple areas, and we'll be talking a little bit more about it tonight. I have a topic on flood control, and then you'll hear some more with respect to some of the appropriations we need to spend prior to what I hope, is receiving some FEMA monies. But there's a site, that the county has, and I'll ask Bill to talk a little bit more about it, but it's a survey, it's a portal that's run, I think, by Super Monkey, I believe.
Survey Monkey.
Yeah, but Bill can talk about it. That is a portal for all of our residents and businesses that suffered damage to submit information. There's a bunch of questions in there, such do you have flood insurance, what have you, but also for pictures and then your estimates. Please get in your estimates, and that's very important for us for triggering FEMA. But Bill, I'll let you, just go in a little bit more detail since you're dealing with it every minute of the day.
Sure. So basically, in this particular case, we had a storm that affected the town that we have an opportunity to be declared as a presidential disaster for Dutchess County. In order for it to be declared a presidential declaration, the county has to meet a certain threshold of damages in public property, public infrastructure, public roadways. Dutchess County's threshold is $1.157 million. Touring East Fishkill and Pauling, I was able to get above $2 million, which what that does is it allows us to meet the threshold. We've asked the governor to recommend to the president to declare Dutchess County or add Dutchess County to the declaration. We expect that to happen this week. That said, once the public assistance category is met, which is that, then there is an opportunity for what's known as individual assistance, which is for private property, small businesses. There are some opportunities for assistance from FEMA. So at this point, we have asked all the municipalities to provide us with estimates, which the town of Wappinger has participated. Luckily and thankfully, the town of Wappinger was not as significantly impacted as portions of East Fishkill and Pauling were. Right. But that said, once the threshold is met, that opens up the opportunity for any municipality within Dutchess County to submit potentially FEMA reimbursable expenses that are costs associated to what they're calling post-cyclone Ida, right, when it affected us. So the PA, which is the public assistance, is the public side. The IA is a separate aspect to the declaration that we are working toward becoming eligible for IA. So I'm going to be, I was out on the streets with FEMA on Friday for PA. I'll be out on the streets with FEMA on Wednesday For IA would be the individual assistance. So we're looking for folks that have had significant impacts to their private property. And I'm not just talking about 6 inches of water in your basement. It needs to be living spaces. It needs to be perhaps structural integrity issues, things like that, major property damage. You can be insured or you can be uninsured. But we're asking you to go to duchessny.gov, and you will see an icon to fill out a survey, which is going to give us the ability to create a geographic priority list for FEMA to take a look at on Wednesday. Now, that said, we still have 45 days from the declaration to add to both the PA and IA. So we ask people to put in their ballpark estimates now, just so we can get an idea of what we're looking at. But folks are encouraged to continue to participate in this as we move forward.
Okay.
We have had success in the past here in the town of Wappinger. We had a snowstorm that impacted the town a number of years ago that became a presidentially declared disaster. It did not necessarily cause catastrophic damage to the town of Wappinger. However, we did have significant overtime expenses associated with clearing the snow, and I believe we had trees and branches that came down also. We ended up receiving 2 years later a check for $130,000, thanks to Frederick, by the way. Shout out to Frederick, our controller, who put all those expenses together. And that was unanticipated revenue into the A fund, I believe, 2 years later, which we used to defray costs on other things. So that said, for this particular event, we're not talking about instantaneous reimbursement, but we are talking about making sure that we are qualified and that we are in the running by meeting all the expectations, so that perhaps if there are reimbursable expenses, we can be part of that.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have anything to lose.
Exactly.
Just take the time, do it, and hopefully it'll come through for you.
And we do have residents that have come to my attention in different areas, whether or not it's Long Sprout Creek or Scott Drive, where water actually damaged the living quarters of those houses. So it did not spare all, many areas of the town, and some houses were harder hit. So please get it into us. And if you have trouble with the portal, then just let me know, and Bill.
Ultimately, the chief elected official of each municipality is going to be the individual that is going to meet with FEMA and meet with the state and meet with the residents that are submitting expenditures. So if you can't figure out how to use the portal, it is a survey monkey. It's simple. There are some folks, though, that aren't familiar with how to access. Speak to the town supervisor, and ultimately, the town supervisor is going to be keeping a record of those types of issues.
Yeah. Thank you. Ed and Rose, would you come on up just to the podium, please? I want to introduce you to two of our artists who have put together this beautiful, patriotic 9/11 art display. And Rose Gennaro and then Ed Schurig are the two artists. Ed has done the artistic work in the back, combination of working with metals and paintings, and Rose has done the paintings over on the left side. The photographs are done by Lee Burns, who also is the manager of the DCH Toyota, but Lee's a very gifted photographer. But Ed, your story is, both you and Rose, but why don't you take just a couple minutes to introduce yourself, your work of art, then Rose can do it, and we do have a front camera which is going to be zooming in there, on the back. So Ed, why don't you just take a minute to share, your...
Okay, my name is Ed Schurig. I'm a local artist. I started this project 20 years ago. After watching all the television, reading the papers, and seeing the magazines of all the stuff that was coming down, I decided there should be a record of this. So that's what got me started. And I started with the towers, and here I'm looking at these tremendous, biggest thing in the world that you would see, these towers. How am I going to imitate that? Little by little, they all come together, and I feel pretty satisfied with the whole project.
It's
So
beautiful.
Thank
now-
you. Yes, it is beautiful, and we're going to have this on display at least, I think, through the end of the month, some here and then some on the easels outside. So we encourage all the residents to come out and take a look at it. Rose, why don't you just
Right.
briefly introduce yourself? And there's a camera up here on the front, so it is, looking at you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rose Gennaro, and I've done the artists over on my right. And last year, when the coronavirus broke out, that middle painting, That was my way of expressing the virus in the sky. And I picked New York City because it was the epicenter of the virus. And I wanted to show light in the sky. The virus is in the sky, but there's also light and hope. So I wanted to show people that this isn't going to last forever. And it was also my way of coping with it because I was trying to express what I felt through the whole thing. But I did want, New York City is known for resilience, so I wanted to show that. And then the painting, for my 9/11 painting, I did after that, because that inspired me to do more paintings like that. And I saw in my mind, I had a vision of the Twin Towers that were invisible. They were there, you could see them, but they weren't really there. And the Statue of Liberty, because they were in Lower Manhattan, and the Statue of Liberty looking at the Twin Towers had a tear in her eye, and the torch was shining towards the towers to represent, the eternal remembrance that we all will have for that event and our sadness that they're gone. And the other one is a Vietnam Wall, and I just wanted to represent my patriotism for that. So, thank you.
Well, we appreciate it very much, and I think I may have mentioned, both of you, that we do also have an Arts and Culture Committee, and we'd more than happy to have you also participate as other artists in our community. But I think Ed's a neighbor of yours, isn't he?
Actually, he lives about 10
You can
houses
share with
down.
us some secrets later on as he's grown up. in
That's
the town.
okay. So, no, it doesn't go that
Or
way.
maybe not.
So first of all, thank you, Ed and Rose. We appreciate the beautiful work out here today. I've known Ed for a number of years. We actually worked together a long time ago at IBM, many years ago, so I do. But he is a neighbor of mine. Do appreciate all the beautiful artwork here. When I saw it tonight, this is the first time I've seen it. I just couldn't believe the Twin Towers there. It's just beautiful. And you said it took 3 years to put that together?
About 3 years, yeah.
So you did this part-time when you were working on IBM, then now you're doing it full-time?
That's right, I was doing that at nights and weekends and everything. Every time I couldn't get away from it.
It drives you in.
Sure.
You just cannot get away from it, so.
Well, I'm glad you stuck with it, because it really, your artwork is beautiful, and same thing
Especially
with
the
Rose, too.
variety of it,
Oh, my
too,
God.
and the emotion in it, so.
Both of you.
We thank you so very much.
And
you know,
thanks for
that.
allowing us to
Yes.
keep this on display for the rest of this month, too. That's really nice of you, so thank you.
That was my question. So how long are we allowed to keep these here?
I think, we were talking about through the end of the month,
Right.
Okay.
and
'Cause,
we'll protect them both. and with our cameras.
Sunday evening, we have the Town of
You're right.
Wappinger First Responder Awards, where we're going to be recognizing a number of first responders and agencies for actions that have occurred actually in 2020 and 2021, because we couldn't do it last year due to COVID. But I think they would greatly appreciate seeing this. I mean, I just walked in here quickly and didn't have an opportunity to really look closely, but now I can't wait to get a closer look at these pieces of artwork. So,
Yeah, it was nice tape that he did.
great,
Very
great.
nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you both.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you. So, the tremendous artistic talent that we have in the town,
Yeah.
it never ceases to amaze me, and, we want to do more, of these sort of events and opportunities. So the, patriotic, story is certainly one that's very, dear, to us. I'll stop with my comments there, and then we'll let Frederick come on up and talk about financial, then we'll go to the public portion, then we'll invite, your comments.
Yeah. If I could just say one thing relative to COVID,
Yeah.
just to dovetail off the supervisor. For those of you that don't know, I do this full-time. I'm the emergency manager for Duchess County, and we watch these numbers very closely. And we, as the supervisor said, we have
Thank you.
hope and optimism that based on the trends and the numbers we're seeing right now, that this Delta variant will be topping out in Dutchess County in the next week, and then start bottoming out and going down in October. That's what we're seeing on the projections. So right now, in the next week to 10 days, I think we're going to see the COVID variant potentially peak in this particular region, and then it's expected to drop very quickly as we get to the end of September into the beginning of October. That's what we are hoping for as we watch the projections, and we have a number of consultants that create these projections and algorithms. So as long as we continue doing what we've been doing, right, and we're careful in managing things properly, I think we'll be good to go for Community Day, which we
Right.
intentionally pushed Community Day back with this hope that we're going to be seeing better numbers, and I believe that's going to be the case, plus it's an outdoor event.
Right. The county is offering these renewed clinics for vaccination, again, to try to further get more participation. The numbers are coming in increasingly higher. In some cases for single dose, it's over 70% for our county. And I think, the concern is that, well, the Delta, as Bill said, is indicating some weakening. There could be another variant. So we encourage everybody that really feels up to and doesn't have certain convictions to get vaccinated, and then hopefully the vaccinations for even younger folks will come out soon. Frederick, go ahead. Talk to us about the finances of the town, please.
So thank you very much. Last month when I presented the financial update, I covered the period January through July. So tonight I would like to extend it by 1 month, cover the period January through August. There haven't been many changes for the last 1 month. I'll just touch on a few that appear to be of significance. First, I will start with the revenue highlights. I know last time we were discussing the mortgage tax, we saw a reduction from 112,000, which was reported in June. It went down to 54,000. Right. And we agreed that probably we need to be a bit more conservative in estimating what we're likely to receive for the remainder of the year. We were fortunate enough that in August, actually the mortgage tax went up to 95,000 from 54,000. So year to date, for the first 8 months, we are reporting mortgage tax of 747,000 out of a budgeted amount of 450,000. So right there, we already have an excess of 297,000, and if we, assume for the rest of the year, September through December, 50,000 a month, that would be another 200,000. So I think we can safely revise our projections from the initial 678,000 to 497.
So on your fund balances for A fund as an example, you've assumed the lower number at the 50,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
So there's probably some opportunity, we might have a little more money. Good.
Exactly.
It's better to be a little conservative.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The rental of real property, that has averaged 21,000, and our projection remains at 12,000 excess at the end of the year. Building permits, there was a slight reduction, 7%, but overall, we are still averaging 30,000 a month, and we project to have an excess of 40,000 at the end of the year. Safety inspection fees, averaging 7,000 a month. Our projected excess is 44,000 by year end. Similarly, zoning fees, we are collecting about $3,000 a month, and we are projecting to have an excess of 20,000 by year end. I did not report on the court fees and fines because we normally receive a report from the Office of the State Comptroller as to how much we are supposed to retain as the court fees and forfeited bail. So, but we have received a report that the two justices collected $75,000 in the month of August, up from $47,000 in the month of July.
I think the August receipts is the highest that we've seen in the COVID, era, right?
Yeah.
Frederick, on a monthly basis,
Yeah.
I believe. So, I know the courts are working
Starting to open
hard
up
with the backlog.
Yeah.
The
Right.
staff is doing an outstanding job. as are the judges. So that is, looking like, that they are getting back to their backlog, so.
Right.
Good.
The other revenue item that I wanted to mention briefly is the FEMA, not the FEMA, but the stimulus funds that we received in the month of July and then a little bit more in August. We have started receiving guidelines on how to report on this funding. And beginning October, I think middle of October or end of October, we were supposed to report, make a quarterly report to the state on how much we have spent. So I just wanted to urge the town board to begin thinking about where to use this money. I think we agreed that it would be water and sewer infrastructure.
Slight correction, it's not FEMA funds, it's
Yeah,
ARPA.
yeah.
It's
The stimulus
the
funds,
ARPA
sorry.
stimulus,
Yeah.
funds that are
American
coming
Rescue
from the
Plan.
federal
So
government.
that's the roughly 2.4 million we got
Yes.
split over 2
Right,
years?
right, yeah.
Okay.
So we received one half of that so far.
So you put that into a capital account?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So in summary, revenue, we are at 83% in the A fund, that's our main fund. In the B fund, 54%, and in the highway, 87%. I just wanted to mention some two expenditure lines that we need to pay close attention to. This is the A42. A14 20.400 and A14 40.400. We need to pay close attention to them, and I'll be coming to the town board in the next meeting to, if necessary, to request for additional funding for these lines.
Are we all caught up on all the expenses? So this is year-to-date August, the 80,900 and the 55,000? That's year-to-date August expense, so there's nothing outstanding that you know of?
Yeah, there are still some bills that we are going through one by one. We're looking at them closely, back and forth with the consultants. We are discussing some of the charges, and we want to take our time to make sure that we are agreed upon the charges.
So as you say, we should monitor this closely because we want to make sure that we
Right,
don't exceed, and I don't want to wait till last minute before we have to do a transfer.
Exactly. That's what I think that we may end up doing. But of course, when we reach that point that the budget is nearing 100%, we'll hold all the pending expenditure and then come before the town board to request for additional funding if necessary.
Just keep a close eye on this, that's all.
Just keep us informed.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're right.
And based on what what our county executive said earlier today, sales tax revenues continue to grow. Actually, he looks at it as being very healthy, so there's, projected, he doesn't have the numbers yet, likely growth factor that's above the past, for this year, and then he's going to try to give us some numbers to put into the budget, but I will still encourage us to keep it at the minimum guarantee, and then we
Right.
can, be taking still that conservative approach, because we don't know what's coming, but then that will build up, our A fund revenues.
So we've already received the fixed amount the county's agreed to with the town, correct? So this would be
Go
above and
ahead,
beyond you're
Frederick,
talking?
just summarize the process, because there's several payments.
We have a sales tax agreement with the county, $1,094,000.
Correct,
And
1,094,000.
last year in 2020, we received 500,000 growth over and above the 1 million. In 2019, we received about 600,000 and change. So it's been growing, the sales tax revenue. And as the supervisor reporting, we might exceed the 500,000 growth that is over and above the 1,094,000 that is guaranteed based on.
So
That
that's the-
growth revenue, though, where you don't receive that till early next year.
Yes, but,
is the thing,
it's.
But the
So yeah,
Usually
we should, plan next year conservative, as you
Right,
said.
right.
Yeah.
And the money comes in, it's a benefit to us.
Yeah,
Keep us informed.
and we can we'll discuss more during the budget process, but also perhaps going into capital fund and some other things, or, but it's looking good, and certainly with respect to the town, we are one of the growth engines for, Duchess County, and quite honestly, because of our several thoroughfares, particularly Route 9, that, is continuing to see good revenue with, we were fortunate, very few businesses shut down. Virtually everything's back, and we're looking at things related to BJ's and Plant Depot. So it's a healthy picture that can drive the rest of the town. So,
Yeah, I think Jim is going to help us also in finding ways of spending that money, which has been one of the issues that the town board has been discussing. Cash at bank balances. We are at 1.8 million for the general fund. This is our main fund. The B fund 5.7, highway 4.2, sewer 2.9, capital 1.2 million, a total of 19.9 million.
so A fund's looking good at 81, 83% of budget right now.
Right.
So that's something that we'll look at.
Good place to
closely.
be with 3 months to go.
Yeah, it's good, very good place to be. Although there are some, other
be some other
expenses that may be
surprises,
coming
but-
on. And I don't know if there's surprises, but certainly some other aspects that
Well,
board
we'll
will
just
have to
keep
talk
our eye
about.
on it,
Yep,
yeah.
that's right.
So looking at the estimated or projected fund balances in the A fund, I'm reporting, or I'm projecting 1.5 million at year end now. This does not include, this is taking into account the conservative estimate of the mortgage tax that I mentioned when I was beginning. Because initially I'd estimated that it would be, 678,000 by year end, but now we are lowering our expectation just in case it doesn't turn out to be what we expect. And even if we are to say that, okay, maybe we spend an additional 200,000 over and above what I'm projecting right now, that would bring it down to 1.3 million from 1. So the B fund projecting 6 million by year end, highway 3.4 million, water funds 1.1, and sewer funds 3.2 million.
So we're still going to have to, look closely during our budget process with respect to B and DB, because those numbers keep growing. And Jim, we're going to need some creative help, because the state audits, and they've reflected before that it's
just within.
creative within the law. I mean, there's, there are things that can be done as far as interpretation goes, but
Give us
clearly the
guidance.
state is
We will
concerned
decide.
about too much fund
Well,
balance.
we have a number of projects coming up, though, too, that we're
Right.
going to probably expend some of this money, either through bonding or through truck purchases or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
So that'll probably be paid down a little bit. So the fund balance won't be as big, I don't think. But certainly something we should take a look at during the
Right.
budget process.
Okay, any questions for Frederick?
Thank you, Frederick.
Just one on the Parkland Trust. So you have $534,000 in that account,
Yes, currently.
but you have about 120K spoken for, so you're
Right,
down about
right.
413?
Mhm.
Okay. 413K. Okay.
Bill, anything?
So, yes, we have fund balances that continue to grow. However, we're almost, hopefully, getting to the end of an unprecedented public health emergency. So my response to the Comptroller's office would be that, we have to be prepared for
Right.
different types of unprecedented events. Once we get through this, then I think we have an opportunity to perhaps invest in some capital projects that we've been discussing all along. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we are on strong fiscal ground, again, here in the town of Wappingers, and for the taxpayers, that's good news, because this gives us the opportunity to offset any potential tax increase by having fund balance.
That's right.
Correct.
Yep. Chris?
all
Okay.
good.
Frederick,
Thank you, Frederick.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Frederick.
for our hard work, and we'll be talking about it during the resolution phase. Jim will introduce the schedule that we look at for the budget planning process, but we'll get to that later on in the resolution. So,
Thank you.
Thanks, Frederick.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Frederick.
Thank you, Frederick.
Okay, so the next aspect of this, and for our visitors tonight and our guests, just want to mention, it's the public portion of the meeting. So that's where you get a chance to come up and talk about particularly agenda item 3, although you can talk about other items. I'd like Beth maybe to talk just a word about the Historical Society during that too. But, we've already heard a lot, but we have that on the item today, and since we have members here, we don't. But I think as far as you folks are concerned, you can come up, you identify yourself, and also maybe 3-4 minutes or so to just represent your position, your interest, and what you'd like to ask the board to do. Then we have later on in the agenda, an opportunity for the board to discuss, some thoughts with respect to that. But, now I will ask, for a motion to
I'll make a
open the
motion to open the
public
public
portion.
hearing.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. So now, whoever would like to come up and speak to the board about the topic and your concerns, we want to do, tonight is to hear, one about just generally, about Ryan's passing, but also since his father is very important, has been to the town in the emergency services building. We're very concerned about Richard Weatherwax's situation, and we want to look at perhaps some memorials going forward. And we've been talking about other memorials. Since I've been supervisor over the 3 years, and the board members have been on the board during some, or if not all, of that period of time, we've seen, unfortunately, too many young people, pass away. And we've been trying to do things with respect to highways, but also recognize that we've tossed around ideas such as a living memorial orchard out at Carnwath Farms. But anyway, why don't you come up, introduce yourself, and say a few words, address yourself to the board. And also, this is on TV, so you don't be shy.
No pressure.
You all look great, so don't worry
Yeah.
about it. Maybe if they come up together.
Yeah. And several of you can come up if you want,
yeah.
To
If you want to go
give
together,
comfort.
moral support,
Yeah.
Moral
But
support.
come up as a group, it's
Yeah,
fine.
please.
Come on.
there you go.
Introduce yourselves and,
They're all
yeah,
here for the
please,
same
come
reason,
on up.
obviously.
Okay,
My
Go
name is
ahead.
Peter Gaffney, 22 years old, motorcyclist, like Ryan was.
yep,
We're all here. I think they can all agree with what I'm about to say to you guys.
okay.
I really do urge you to go stop by there, even if you didn't know him. Stand there for a couple of minutes during the day and take it in. And
Well,
behind
for the board members that don't, I've been there where he was hit, please.
I'm sure you're all pretty aware. I mean, if you didn't see, the whole city was shut down for him.
Yeah,
But if you stand there and pay your respects, behind you, midday, you'll still have people making that illegal left
Right.
turn. It is illegal now, Monday through Saturday, 8 to 8. And during those hours, all week long, anybody that's here for him right now probably stopped by there at least once a day while things are processing. And it's more than frustrating to watch cars still doing it, because the kid, he wasn't doing anything wrong. He made me sell my motorcycle last Saturday. I took him last year to go buy his first bike and didn't let him buy it because it wasn't safe. So we're all very, frustrated, and that sign is ignored all day long where it sits now. So I understand you're pushing to change the sign and make it completely illegal to turn, but 90% of the time now, it is illegal, and people
Yes.
disregard it. And
Right.
I'm going to be honest with you, we've been stopping cars, and some of them just skirt off and blow across 4 lanes of traffic and almost cause an accident right in front of us.
Right.
But yeah, I just, you stopped by my house yesterday.
I did.
So I remember your face, and if anybody else would like to speak.
Yeah, please.
Hi, my name is Kelly McConaughey. I've lived in the town of Wappinger for 22 years now, all of my life. I think we're all here today to just support and, show recognition of the change that we want to be made at the intersection of Hannaford's and Myers Corners. There's been, as you guys have said before, there's been so many accidents there. As far as I'm aware, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan Weatherwax's was one of, if only the only one, that, resulted in the way that it did. But we're all just here to, show our support and hoping in that change. Like Peter said, I've been there a million times, I live
Yeah.
off Losey Road. Hannaford's is my grocery store,
Yeah.
And I went there the other day shortly, just to buy groceries after, we went to Ryan's funeral and stuff like that. And in just that short period of time that I was pulling in, I saw 2 cars from the hours that were illegal, making that left-hand turn. And I think for a lot of people, it is confused, because the sign is so small and the letters are so small. And I think a lot of people are confused, when those hours are. So I think a change that, could be made is just to have it flat out never allowed, so that there's no negotiating and there's no excuses for making that left-hand turn. I went in, I went into Hannaford's and my blood was boiling. I'm not an aggressive person whatsoever, but I wanted to park my car and go ballistic on these cars that are still turning left at this left-hand side. Today we have some of Ryan's family here. My best friend, Tori, she dated Ryan for 6.5 years, and they were love, and that's all I've known. And that she doesn't have that anymore.
Right.
And, none of us have that. And we all want change to be made.
Right.
And,
I think it's, and what we'll, consider too is probably multiple changes,
Yeah.
at that spot, whether or not it's a directional
Yeah.
flow or other things that we can have. Mr. Bill is very much involved in the safety, fire, department,
Yep.
police. He's, been a champion for that, and we have talked about this sign before
Yeah.
and gotten frustrated ourselves. But you're right, I use Hannaford's all the time,
Yeah.
and I, sit behind it and even actually honk the court, whereas I see
Yeah.
have their blinker on going the other way, so.
Yeah, and I mean, to give some credit, where it's due, obviously, none of this fixes the situation or makes it, any better, but even when I was leaving Hannaford's, my blood's still boiling, and I'm watching that site like crazy, because anybody who's pulling there, they're my new enemy,
Yeah.
And I went the right way. I went behind the Federal Credit Union, and I saw 2 state troopers that were watching the site, so of course that does give me some peace of mind, that hopefully, these troopers are pulling them over, and, they are watching them. But like I said, that peace of mind lasts for a little bit, and, Ryan's passing is forever. And, we all were ready for Joey Cavassini to speak, and we're ready for his presentation. But, yeah, we didn't even really prepare much. I think we all just wanted
that's
to.
fine.
Oh, this is
Joey's
perfect.
tied down with the legislature.
Yeah.
It's probably going a little bit longer, but I
He'll
didn't
be-
want
he'll
to stop.
be here.
He's on
He'll
the
be
way.
here soon.
Yeah, but I mean, just the point of, us all being here is just to show the support
Right.
and, hopefully make that change
Exactly.
made.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming in. Can I just ask you one question?
Yeah.
Are you related to John, Kevin, or Dennis?
Yeah, they're my uncles.
Okay.
All of them.
Okay.
Yeah, you look familiar too.
They live next door to me.
Did you really? I was gonna say.
Al lives
you
next to everybody,
definitely-
apparently.
Yeah, I think so.
You definitely looks familiar.
Every
I
ward,
thought-
I think.
So Dennis and Rosemary are your grandparents?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they are.
Very good.
So
Hope they're doing well.
it takes a lot for you guys to come out,
Right.
especially this soon. I mean, I had reservations about this being on the agenda this soon. I mean, this just happened, and I was not at this incident. I was working, but I did have members of my fire department that were there, and one of the first responders on scene was troubled by this call, I will tell you, and spoke to him about it. This is one of those situations that we see in this town and every other town across this country where, we ask ourselves, why did this happen, right? How can we prevent something like this from happening again? We have a moral obligation, just like you, to do our best to evaluate this situation and look at what we can do from our perspective. It is a county road, but we still have influence. We still communicate with the county on a regular basis. We have a site plan for Wappinger Plaza that falls under our jurisdiction, which would have relevance to the restrictions on exiting the property, right? The signage is definitely not optimal, right? There's an educational component here too, because many folks don't believe they have to follow that sign because they're leaving private property. That's not true. They do have to follow that sign, so there is an educational component here that we need to look at. And there's an enforcement component, but I do know the state police and the sheriff's office have enforced that. I've seen them enforce it. obviously they can't be there 24/7, right? And it really hits home because Rich, his father, who I happen to be closer with than the son, Rich means a lot to this town.
Right, yes, he does,
You know,
absolutely.
in his capacity with the state police, as station commander of SP Wappinger, we dealt with Rich every week.
Yeah.
You know, texting concerns, and very responsive. I've had other fatal accidents in this town that I've had concerns about, and Rich has responded to
Yeah.
the concerns with increased enforcement and providing us with information on how we can improve those situations. So for this to happen to his son,
Yeah.
hits home for us too.
Yeah.
So we don't know the family on a level that you do. However, we believe that we have a very important responsibility to do what we can to
Absolutely.
prevent anything like this from occurring, especially at that intersection.
Yeah.
It's dangerous there.
Right.
You know, I mean, you're dealing with 1 to 2 lanes, depending on how you interpret the painting, right? You have people merging, coming off of Route 9 that many of them don't even realize that they're going to be going from 2 to 1 lane. They're
No.
dealing with that. You got cars that are coming in from the other direction. And then you have a shopping center that's exiting. So perhaps from an engineering standpoint, we can work with Bob Balkind, who's the Commissioner of Highways for the county, Steve Gill, who's a traffic analyst for the county, and determine a better way. I hate to say it, but it's just as unsafe across the street coming out of Chase Bank.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
people, that particular location has a molded curb to push people to make a right. People are making lefts out of there,
Yeah.
right? So we can put a curb in place and people still go against the traffic flow. Unfortunately, with motorcycles, obviously, you guys all know, right? Look twice, right?
Yep.
Some people don't look twice. Some people do look twice and still don't see motorcycles, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those situations we're going to ask ourselves for a long time why this happened, and we're not going to be able to make sense of that right now. But I will tell you, from my perspective, and I'm sure my colleagues will agree,
Yes.
this is just the beginning of the conversations,
Right.
right? And you folks being here tonight, and the individuals that are sitting down, you being here and forced tonight, and showing the emotion, okay? I could see it, right? We're all humans here. You have my word that this is not the end of this conversation, and I can also say that there will be an end game here that's different from what you see right now.
That's right.
That's my perspective.
Same here.
Same here.
Well, you know, I think we all can agree that we all appreciate that. You know, that you saying all of that, you know, gives us some sort of peace of mind. You know, I think that the best that we can have during, you know, this time. And just to touch on what you said, you know, Rich Weatherwax, Ryan's father, and even his stepmother, you know, they're members, they've been members of the community for years, and they've devoted their life to, you know, this police department and, you know, for times like these. And I think that's one of the most gut-wrenching parts of it all, is that they've devoted their life to protecting this community, and this was a situation that happened to their son that they couldn't protect him from. And that's why we want change to be made today, and that's why, you know, we're all here, and any type of influence that, you know, that you have on the county, because I heard you say that, you know, it's not all just, you know, about you guys, that it's about the county too, you know, will be appreciated by all of us and by, you know, the community. And
So,
that's that.
just to be fair, legislator Cavassini
Yep.
has been texting me.
Yeah.
He left the legislative meeting. He is on the way here. By the time we
Okay.
get to number 3,
Yeah, then
on
we'll,
the, on the discussion item,
Yep.
I think that's when he's going to be here in
Correct.
time to
yeah.
Okay.
give his perspective.
Yep.
But just understand that I told him that you were going to be speaking during public comment. I'm sure he'll watch this video, but
Yeah.
I just want you to understand that he is on the way here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Noreen Weatherwax. On behalf of the Weatherwax family, we thank you. Please make a change. My sister is 12 years old. She's got to pass that site every day,
Yep.
going to school. I just appreciate whatever you guys can do.
Sure, Noreen.
Thank you.
We're sorry for your loss.
Sorry for your loss.
Our condolences.
Yep. Okay, so stay around and we'll get to formal, but this is public comment, so we really do appreciate your comments.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate you guys listening.
I do want to add in that light making the left to Myers in front of the gas station where there's 2 turning lanes. People floor it out of there to cut in front, so that is going to be an issue as well. Come time for a change to a curb or something in the middle there, that's kind of, is a stem of one of the problems in
Sure.
that area, is that left turn, people trying to cut in front of the other.
Cut across.
That's another variable. When you're within X number of feet to a state intersection on a county highway, that becomes another whole discussion, which I'm sure we will have no problem involving state DOT in the discussions as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of variables within that short little distance right there. But again, we're going to do our best to have this addressed as soon as possible. There will be a change. Can't tell you specifically what that will be, but there will be a change at some point in the near future. I guarantee you that, whether it's just signage to start, there will be a change. We're going to make sure that there's a tangible difference at that intersection very soon.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
And that's, it's why I wanted to put it on the agenda. I know we all had some reservations this soon, but, you know, it's not too soon. You know, we need to move it while it's fresh and then keep it moving along, so.
Big signage to
Yeah.
start, for sure.
A lot of things.
Big signage. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Be safe.
And again, to the Weatherwax family that's in attendance, obviously I didn't know that you were directly related. We can't share our condolences enough. I mean, I was working when I got word of this. I got a text message from the sheriff's office of who this was, and I was very upset.
Any other public comments on other agenda items, same topic? You know, Beth, do you want to say anything, or anybody in the group? Okay, very good, thank you. See no further comments, do I have a motion to close?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion and second to close the public portion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. The next, the first item for discussion is, as we were discussing earlier, you know, there was significant, flooding within the town, and also flood damage within sections of the town, both to town properties as well as private, properties.
Residential, so.
We've been looking at for a while ways that we can start addressing it, and the first initiative before I, came on the board, and I think going back a number of years since Councilman Beal's been here, is that the town is a major participant, actually kind of the co-chair, or I'm the chair this year, of what is an initiative for the Wappinger Creek. And it's, we've done a 9-element study. Matt Alexander, when he was mayor, was the chairman of that. I'm the chairman of the Wappinger's municipal creek activity. So that is starting to move into the execution phase, but we have not had similar activities with respect to the Sprout Creek and other creeks within the town. I've been discussing with the Cornell Cooperative, which is very much involved in other organizations. So one of the areas that we want to look into is how we can start doing some more flood control and prevention, particularly along the Sprout Creek, and that floods out major developments of the town. Also our sports fields, which are the lifeblood of many of our young people, and the devastation, as you'll hear a little bit out there, the damage was quite significant, almost $100,000 worth of damage, and that doesn't include Steve's team's man hours, which he estimates maybe 100 hours to fix, to remediate. So that in itself has set back, damaged some major fields, and Councilman Casella will talk about that. But one of the things I'd like the board, what I want to do is to create a task force, that I and Al, would be co-chairs on, along with the legislators, and then we could choose, find some other folks, residents, what have you, that would participate to look at it. As I said, I'm working with Cornell Cooperative. We'll be putting in some grant proposals later on with respect to how to clean up the Sprout Creek. We came very close to losing 2 bridges that crossed that. We were very fortunate, that they did not go out. That's on Montfort and Brown, but we can't allow that to happen. We have some trailer parks. This time they were relatively spared, right, Al? You know, right
Down
when
by Scriber Road,
Montfort.
yeah.
But a lot of residents that are affected, so we can't wait any, more on this. And even the flooding along Old Hopewell Road was quite significant because our wetlands had no place to go. So, if we'll come back with some more formal, discussions, but at least get the consensus on us moving ahead with some sort of task force. All of you would be involved.
Absolutely, I want to be part of that. We talked
Yeah,
about that.
I talked about that.
And I definitely want to be on that.
So we can look at that, and then it also will involve, our, fields. We have basically 3 major sports complexes, one at Rockingham, the other Robinson Lane, which is the major one, and also at Airport Drive, we have the soccer field. So, and there are some smaller parks. Actually, I learned that there's 1 or 2 parks that we have, which we show on the map that it collected, but we don't maintain. Steve doesn't mow it, the neighbors mow it. So we need to look at that, and and I think come back to it in a few months. But I think when we look at budget, I'd like to look at something, with respect to funding some of that activity, so we don't get interrupted, with rain, particularly during the rainy seasons when our youth are out there playing most actively in the parks.
So the number one hazard facing communities in New York State is flooding. Obviously, it's number 1 in Dutchess County as well. The town of Wappinger is eligible under federal hazard mitigation planning grants by being a participant in the Dutchess County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. That plan is actually being reviewed and renewed in a short time. The county has received grant funding to start that process, which will include each municipality in Dutchess County, including the town of Wappinger. So in those particular grant opportunities, you identify shovel-ready projects that can improve a situation such as redundant flooding, right? I'm not sure, if berms and things like that can help along the Sprout Creek. We have tried that before at Robinson Lane. We've had some success, but one issue that I believe needs to be evaluated as soon as possible is downstream obstructions.
Exactly.
And there are provisions through the DEC and Army Corps of Engineers, especially when you have a storm event like we just had, to make sure that there are not downstream obstructions, especially under those bridges, because that's going to push the water back, right?
Right.
So if you
And
have,
that was happening.
Right, so if you have trees right now or other items that were washed downstream from this most recent event, less rain could result in similar flooding. So I think we need to get eyes on those areas. I think the highway department may have some purview. I don't know. Graham, from what I understand, was out in a kayak.
And Mike's willing
one
to
time looking.
And Mike's willing to go out there and work it. And, Joe and Joey took a kayak
Oh, that
ride.
was Joey. Okay, Joe and Joey were in a
Joey
kayak.
took kayak ride and discovered all sorts of obstructions.
I'm still waiting for the photos of that, but you
they're-
weren't in the
they're
same.
not widely
They were
circulated.
2 separate kayaks, right? It wasn't the same
We
one.
had
Oh,
two
go ahead,
kayaks, and they were down trees almost every 100,
Right.
200 feet, and all the way across the creek. And it slows down the flow of the water to the point where it will. So it's not just at the bridges.
Right,
It's
right.
all along.
It's all along that creek. So the point is that
It's deep enough, so.
What we need,
Clear that,
is
you'll get
dredging
flow.
those. That's what we
And
really need.
there's beaver dams,
That's
out there that
that's
are
another-
blocking
that-
it,
that's
and
another
some
thing.
vehicles in
So
there.
and Jim can expand upon it, I don't think we want to get this much into the
Right.
weeds on it, but there are DEC permitting obligations and Army Corps of Engineer jurisdiction on certain things. But one thing that I've found from a county perspective is municipalities that are proactive on their tributaries and creeks and keeping an eye on these things, and we were
less flooding.
proactive looking at these trees that were down. They have more success with preventing repetitive flooding situations.
Right.
And, one of the things I was thinking about, once that water receded, right, I was thinking to myself, I can only imagine what that brought down,
Sure.
into our waterways. So we really need to have a conversation offline about this and determine who from our staff would be responsible for getting eyes on this, and then what we can do. Walter Artis might have some purview on this too, and he may be able to give us some perspective at a future meeting. But I think we really need to pay attention. These types of rain events are not common, but they're becoming more common.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we've had a number of issues down Joan Lane, Paulette, Robinson Lane,
Joan,
Regency.
that's been a mess for years.
That's been a mess for years, and we really need to take a look at that. I mean, the dredging, they tried that a number of years ago. I think Joe was probably kayaking down there, but that really has to be cleaned up because that's a mess down there. Those poor people that was up halfway up Joan Lane. So that's
Yeah.
how bad it was. That's just,
Started at Robinson Lane and all the way down to Fishkill. So we started.
But you're right, Al, when I went out there too, water was way up the road and still coming in through the yards, quite
so
all
again,
aggressively.
hopefully this is something that's once in a lifetime, probably not, but we
No,
just need
no.
to start thinking
This
about
isn't
being
this isn't
proactive on this,
ongoing.
because we're not proactive and doing the dredging and everything else, this is gonna continue to happen, and there's a lot of damage.
And I can tell you
A lot of
that,
property
It is,
damage.
this is on.
I can tell you that in the town of East Fishkill, one of the bridges or culverts,
Yeah.
depending on how it's defined, was replaced in 2011 after Irene and Lee, right? It was replaced and it just got washed out during this event. So these types of things are, these 100-year floods are happening, 10 years apart, which is a concern, and we can have a conversation about opinions on why that's happening at a later time, but the point is it's happening. I deal with numbers and data, it's happening more often. We need to make sure that we're staying ahead of it as much as we can by making sure the downstream obstructions are clear. I did have the same conversation with Supervisor Albrough from the town of Fishkill.
Right.
Luckily, we didn't see that type of significant catastrophic flooding that they saw adjacent to Montfort Block, 5 feet of water and businesses down there behind Walmart. So we don't want that to happen here in this town either. So again, I just think we should remain having this conversation and be proactive so that we can do our best.
Exactly.
We
Some
should
of
al-
it's not in our control.
We
but
should
we'll do the
also have
best.
somebody take a look at the bridges, because we just want to make sure they're still safe. Because water was going over the bridges on Brown Road, Montfort, a
Did it
couple of
go?
other areas.
Did it go over the bridge, all the way over the bridge?
I think it did.
Montfort, it didn't. It
Montfort-
was
Montfort.
lapping up. It didn't go all the way
Didn't
up.
quite go all the way up, but
But it was
Brown-
pushing hard on the,
Brown was right
Well, then
there.
either way, the engineers, I would
they
have
have
no
to go
objection to
check
the
it-
engineers taking a
check it
look
out.
at those structures.
Part of
so
the job and
Tim,
responsibility.
get one of your structural engineers to work
Just
with
to
Mike.
take a look at it, make sure everything's okay. We also have one over at Regency. They have that small bridge that goes out to the soccer fields. So I know if Mike Sheehan was out there, but just, if you guys can just take a look at that, because it looks like there's a little bit of like sinkage on the road there. And Mike said it's okay, but I'd rather have an engineer go out there and look at it as well. Thank you, Tim.
I'm not sure, I'll check if there's a database of who has jurisdiction over the bridges. I think because those are boundary line bridges, they may be under the jurisdiction of the county.
Okay, well,
Okay.
we'll look into it, as Bill said, that's the purpose
That's even
tonight
better.
for me to get this out and start talking about it. But
it's county
one
jurisdiction.
good
Yeah.
thing that we've done is that as the board, we've invested, several $1 million into our water field, water wells, and thanks to CPL and the engineers, they raised the wellheads, above flood level. So we had nothing to worry about this
Right.
time when the Sprout Creek overflowed into our 2 well fields. So that was very good in our planning to get that done as we continue to look at a number of those things. So Mike Tremper, said that thanks, to that work that we, did authorize and pay for, also the quality of the water never changed because of the filtration, and it was properly set up so none of the sediment would get in and corrupt the wells. So that's part of our ongoing effort. We have, we're continuing, we have a major initiative right now to look at drinking water, protection, and that was, thanks to a state grant that pays the costs of, the consultants that are working with us on it. So a number of things to come with respect to that. Like to shift to Spook Hill. I think Randy, friends of Spook Hill, and then Tim, you can talk about, what we've been doing with respect to also Phase 2 of Spook Hill, as we, and Steve, also you can give an update on where you are on Phase 1.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Thank you to the board for allowing me every once in a while to catch you up on what's going on up in Spook Hill. We've had a bunch of developments up there. I'm going to give you a brief summary of Phase 1 and looking into Phase 2. Tim is going to go a little deeper into the finances. We're also running up against a couple of deadlines as far as installation of material. is concerned with price changes coming up. So Tim will talk about that. I'm going to talk about Phase 1 for a second, and then Steve can fill you in. I want to thank Steve and his crew. There's an amazing job going on up there at Spook Hill. Phase 1 is basically the existing structure, which is the bathroom and the storage area and the parking lot. And that was a grant, remember, from the county, $100,000 grant, which is paying for that. The roof is done pretty much up at Spook Hill. There's been no storm damage. I was up there today talking to the guys. There's been no storm damage at all.
Good.
It's great. They raised the roof.
Beth took all the storm damage down the road.
Oh, yeah. The roof's been raised about 3 inches. It's been supported with cinder blocks. There's an extension that was put on the roof. There's been a lot of support given to the roof. The wiring for the cameras has been installed inside. They put in recessed lighting, the hi-hat lighting, such as these, has been put up. There are 5 of them outside. The paint, I believe, is ordered, Steve? Or, yes, paint has been ordered, and it's a special kind of paint that will try to keep the graffiti off of it. The parking lot needs one more layer of materials and then the markings, but we're going to wait a little bit for the heavy equipment to do that. And the plumbing will be totally updated inside and up to spec. How are we doing, Tim? Oh, that's too bad. All right. Okay, so let me talk to you about 1A then. This is Phase 1A. Phase 1A, if you look at Spook Hill kind of as a face of a clock, we're looking at around 7 or 8 o'clock on the clock. And that would be the first section, which is the TOT section, T-O-T. The TOT section is first, and then that's followed by a kind of transitional area where we have the picnic tables that were built by the Eagle Scout, and they'll go in there. After that area, then about 6 o'clock is our unique outdoor exercise area. So 1A is the TOT area, and it's the outside exercise area. A lot of people have commented about the exercise area to me. A lot of neighbors have come up to me and asked me about it. So there's a lot of interest in that type of thing. After the TOT area, if you keep on going around the clock, around 9 o'clock, that would be the almost another transition area, but for older children. So I would say ages 8 through 10, something like that. There's a zip line, which is Joey's favorite thing. He's asked for a zip line, which will go in there. It's about a 12-foot zip line. Then you go to about noontime, 12 o'clock. And 12 o'clock would be also a transition area, but that's also a special area for kids on spectrum. We've promised that almost 80% of the equipment that we ordered is going to be for kids with all types of abilities. And that is one of the areas where it's really going to be showing up. There's going to be sensory equipment there. There's going to be a quiet area there because a lot of kids who have sensory issues need some quiet away from the hubbub of a usual park. So that will be up at around 12 o'clock. As you keep on going down, this is still Phase 2, well, almost Phase 2 we're talking about, is the existing handball court, which I think we decided we're going to keep, but it needs a lot of renovation. I saw it today, and it's in pretty bad shape. And then the basketball court is around 3 o'clock. The basketball court is, at this point, the favorite site for the kids. Even at night, there are kids there until deep darkness playing basketball. And there hasn't been a lot of garbage around. There hasn't been a lot of graffiti. It's been pretty good shape at this point. Now, holding the whole thing together, of course, is the 1/10 of a mile walking path or running path, which will be in a kind of circle. It's wide enough for a wheelchair, and it's wide enough for 2 people to go, together to either walk or run or, just enjoy. outside of that area then, so there is phases 1, 1A, and 2. Phase 3, then, we have that whole area, whole green space outside of the exercise area that can be used for a whole bunch of stuff. You know, the beautiful artwork that we have here, you know, we could have art shows, we could have Tai Chi, we could have all different things. One of the things we're looking at, which is the county is trying to help us with a grant possibly, is called the Green Therapy Initiative, where doctors will actually have patients come to that park and do their therapeutics in our park. So phase 3 is really open for a lot of stuff. The supervisor would like to have some kind of elder area where we could do bocce, we could do horseshoes, we could just do, you know, all types of stuff. So we are really looking forward to that, and I'm sorry you couldn't see the pictures, but that's basically what we're looking at now. I know I'm probably speaking out of turn, but I was thinking of these folks behind us. In the parking lot, there is an island that's been created to keep the traffic going. Sibelico has told us that they promised that they are going to either give us trees or bushes or flowers in that area. And I was thinking maybe of having a memorial area in that piece of the park. It's just a proposal. Like I said, I don't want to speak out of turn. But there will be young people there. There'll be teenagers there. Veterans will be there. So maybe there'll be a place to put a memorial for Mr. Weatherwax or just in general, a living memorial. Are there any questions, or Tim, you want to?
Having trouble with the group.
But the big thing that we reported on last time was that the equipment that Randy described, so there's this categories 2, 5, 5 to 12, and a sensory category for, you know, ADA accessible, and then there's a fitness component. So based on COVID, the supplier indicated there's going to be a 5 to 8% increase in the cost for some of these things. They're also on state bid, so.
Microphone.
They're also on state bid, so we shared the contract language just to make sure it's good with the town and also with the county relative to, you know, the co-op pricing, Jim. I think you got a copy of that. And then basically, they worked up the numbers, and it's about $437,000 worth of all the various components of the sensory and fitness and the 2 to 5 year program. There's other site work, there's the paving of the track area, and then there's some excavation. So the idea would be architects worked up some cost savings, and the town could save approximately $50,000 off the top if they, say highway could do the paving. There'd be more than 50 if highway did the paving, but their big items were the mulch. Like you have to put 12 inches of mulch, so they were looking for volunteers or town forces to help with the mulch, and that was about $25,000 savings. And then there was some additional site excavation that the town forces could implement. That would be another $25,000 across the board. So they're outlining ways to save money to help offset this increase.
There are other, excuse me, Tim, there are other discounts possible. One is called orphaned equipment. Orphaned equipment is where a town or a city buys certain piece of equipment and never uses it, never picks it up. We could pick that up at a really deep discount, so we're looking into that. Also, as far as volunteers are concerned, if we can find 15 volunteers on a Saturday morning to come and either help them install equipment or supervising painting or planting, that's also a deep discount. So we're looking into that to try to get some discount.
So I think during our budget deliberations, we'll talk more about it. I think as to the remaining monies, you know, we're still thinking about a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, you know, being still, there will be some grant monies available. Donations, you know, Randy and I and others have talked about that and then probably the other third would be out of town, you know, park, you know, monies, something along those lines, which we can discuss further. Fortunately, Tim's been, scrubbing the numbers and looking at it from the point of view, as we just heard, of us doing, some of the work internally. And Steve, do you have anything you'd like to add on this as far as this project goes?
Just got one update today that's actually good news. Last meeting, I announced that we weren't able to get the electrical components until December, and the persistence of the electrician, he was able to find, it was the meter panel that we were looking for. So he's got that in stock, and we expect electricity to be hooked up
That's
sometime
great.
this week.
Excellent.
That's good.
That's outstanding.
That is,
Good.
that's good.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank
But,
you.
yeah, Randy pretty much covered everything else.
Okay.
So just a question for Randy. So or actually Tim, so the 437,000, is that the full cost of the project? Or is that the to-go?
That's all the phases.
So all four of the, because you've got
There you go.
three
There it is.
phases, right?
Here we go now.
There you go. Joey, did you do that? Thank you. Yeah, there you go. All right, so there it is. So that's the whole shebang right there.
Well, without the basketball court and the handball.
Right. That would be.
They're in the background.
That's to the back there.
Yeah.
We had a parent called me yesterday and asked about trees and shade. And I explained about the big umbrellas, because there really is no tree shade around there. So to answer your question, everything that you see there, that would be the total price.
So 437 is the total, and we're trying to find about $100,000 of savings Tim talked about?
Yes.
And then we'll do the one-third, one-third, one-third?
Right, after
Okay.
that.
So the 437, so everybody could see the yellow shading, that's all mulch, right? So that's the mulch area that we could save money, but wherever there's that mulch, there's like, they call it.
Special mulch. It's not your lawn
It's
mulch.
engineered mulch.
Engineer mulch.
Yeah.
But the 437 is basically for the installation of all the equipment that you see, like Randy's
Okay.
saying, with the shade tents, every little piece of apparatus they call it.
That mulch is the same stuff we use at the playgrounds. We just did at Quiet Acres in Rockingham.
It's engineered, it's almost basically screened so that it's a uniform
Okay.
size, and they've
Right.
done the GMAX testing and things for impact, so it's like basically, that's what it's called.
When would you start Phase 1A?
Phase one was
Well, Phase 1 is done, so when would you
1A,
start Phase
right?
1A?
You say 1A.
about 180.
Those are the picnic tables and the first tots
Yes.
playground.
Right, yes.
Picnic tables are built already?
Picnic tables are
Yeah.
built, and Steve there, wherever he went, I think he has them
Here he is.
somewhere, right? Yeah, they're all built. Now, the Eagle Scout built 2 of them, and he promised that if we wanted more, he just
They would do it.
does them
Okay,
very
good.
quickly, yeah.
So I think when we get into our budget review, we can talk some more, and we'll have a little bit more information that Tim will have.
Okay.
Because for example, the track, we'll still need to buy material. If Mike is going to do it, then,
What's the timetable? Looking at a 2-year, 3-year period? So as we start budgeting for this stuff, what kind of time period or timeline are you looking at to have this
Well,
completed
so
by?
Architects is gonna need their signed contract by the end of this year, 2021, and they would anticipate like a spring install. That would be for the periphery there. Suppose you could come back in and rework the track in after.
but I think as we've discussed, it's probably better for us to
Better
get
to
the
have
track
the
laid,
majority of
and
the-
if Mike's going to do it, then we get it after the spring thaw.
Yeah, you're gonna
Right.
have to.
Yeah.
Right.
Just an
There's not
asphalt
enough.
walk track?
Yeah. So, I think the idea now is to have it completed next year.
Yeah, next year would be.
Yeah. Yeah, also because of holding the price.
Again, I'm just asking because as
Yeah,
we
yeah.
budget, we want to make sure we've got, if we're going to do this, we want to make sure we have
Oh,
it
I
covered.
totally agree,
Yep.
yeah.
Any other questions about? Okay, thank you
Thank you,
so
Randy.
much.
Thanks, and
Appreciate
thanks
it.
for everybody's hard work on doing that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Steve, thank you for your team. They've done an outstanding job on that construction. Really have expert quality. I think the roof work is exemplary of what can be done by our internal staff, quite honestly.
And if you find out any of the equipment that isn't being used by other towns that you
Right.
can acquire, let us know. Even if we have to change a few of the equipment,
It may not be the right color,
that's okay.
but pictures that they showed us, there are equipment that we can definitely use.
Okay, good.
Paint hides a lot of things.
If it's significant savings, why not, right?
Yes. As long as the functionality's there and the safety is
Exactly.
there, and it's
Exactly.
safe, you know, then we.
I'll let Randy
we can
paint
do
it.
So, good.
We have a paint party.
Yeah. So, Joey, while we're waiting for you to come, you know, down out of the legislature, you know, we did have a very good discussion and heard a lot. Okay, you watched it. Oh, that's good. So,
No,
you know.
listened to it, you didn't watch it.
Yes, okay, yeah. So I, you know, I'll turn the floor over to you for comments that you'd, you know, like to make, you know, with respect to this.
On Saturday, September 4th, a family lost their son, and a community lost a brother and a friend. Mr. Supervisor, members of the board, my friends that are here, Mrs. Weatherwax, and family. This tragedy really struck this community hard. Again, as I heard in the discussion earlier, it had a significant impact to many. And since this accident, I have received well over 50 phone calls, emails, and concerns from Wappinger area residents that are just disgusted by this intersection. We've had discussions ourselves, Supervisor, Councilman Beal, Councilman Phillips, Councilman Casella, about this particular intersection. Within 2 days of that accident, I contacted County Executive Mark Molinaro and our County DPW Commissioner Bob Balkine in reference to the safety concerns at this location and how the sign that says Monday through Saturday, 8 to 8, needs to go, period. From my request, it was actually granted by the county. And I'm proud to say that Dutchess County DPW will be removing that sign that says Monday through Saturday. That will be coming down. But that is a first step in a long process to increase vehicular safety and motorcycle safety along Myers Corners Road and in this area of the Route 9 corridor. As Councilman Beal, I think, mentioned during the earlier discussion, the town does have the jurisdiction and the means to amend the site plans, working with the local property owner on that through the planning board and through the planning process. But one thing I'd like to point out is once this sign is taken down, it becomes a permanent no left turn. Hold on. There is still faintly the left-hand turning lane that's painted on the ground. Again, a significant issue that will remain after this sign is taken down. Again, I don't want to go too further into this because I know that there was a previous discussion, but I'm asking, I think the town board will agree, but to reopen the site plan at this location. Reach out to the property owner, see what Dutchess County, what the town of Wappinger, and what Wappinger Plaza can do at this intersection to remove that painted line there. It was mentioned before, but the mobile station, Chase Bank, they both have permanent no left turns and concrete barriers placed at the entrances. That is what needs to happen here. I believe my good friend PJ and Kelly mentioned before that as we've been at this memorial site past week now, we have been watching people continuously making that illegal left turn right in front of us.
Right.
Unfortunately, this tragedy, Ryan Weatherwax's tragedy, could have been prevented easily. Easily. So I appreciate the town board's support. I know that there has been some requests by the family and loved ones to potentially do a more permanent memorial, potentially at Spook Hill Park. Ryan's mother actually lives on Fieldstone Boulevard. Ryan would frequently pass by Spook Hill Park, and his girlfriend said would hang out at Spook Hill. We'd like to do something there, and again, get the community's input and involvement as well. So again, I don't want to belabor the point, but I open it up, I guess, to discussion if there's any further.
Yeah, I think Joey, we've had some good discussion, and what we want to do is to look at a comprehensive study, you know, because I think, as Councilman Beal recognized, it's not just this one intersection, but it's that whole area coming out of Hannaford's, the 9D, you know, Myers Corner intersection, and generally traffic flow, because quite honestly, I've had issues nearly hitting people coming out of there as you try to go into the right-hand turn lane, the right-hand turn onto Route 9. You know, that 3-lane issue. So there's a number of problems, you know, that we have to address. And I think, you know, what we want to do is get our engineers, the county's engineers, to look at that, probably our planner, working with the planning board, because it's not just here. We have some other issues in the town, and as the planning board makes approvals for new developments or renovation of developments. And last but not least, I did talk with the mayor of the village, because the village is right in here too.
There, yep.
And about having perhaps a joint planning board discussion with respect to Route 9 and some of these areas, because they come out, you know, it's the light, right? Right before that. So I think we need to be looking at that. You know, our planning has, you know, had some proposals, and so I think we'll dust that off. So I think, you know, we will be, you know, creating, I think, the board talking about a little bit further with respect to what is the right way, and then maybe at the next meeting, you know, we can have some more ideas as to how we proceed after we get some of the input from our consultants. I think our engineers, our planner, and Mr. Horan, you know, from the legal point of view of what is our authority. In the meantime, though, you know, I think the board's comments earlier, we're not going to wait till that, right? We're going to keep looking at this. You've started with Commissioner Balkine. You know, we all, you know, have good relations, so that has to start, you know, now, you know, which it has. So Bill, you know, has some good experience, and we have other aspects that we're going to be looking at, already are looking at. So we can't wait, you know, is the key thing.
You know, to Councilman Beal's point earlier, we've all seen people make lefts when it's a right-flowing traffic, and like the young lady said earlier, is people just do it out of habit. I've been riding for 45 years, believe me. My wife was there right after the accident, and she rides with me 99% of the time. We know that. I live off of Kent Road, so I'm down there all the time on a bike. So I know what you're talking about. A lot of it is education, a lot of it's enforcement, and, you know, hopefully we can get, you know, Mr. Horan to see what we have to do legally to get that fixed.
There wasn't always a restriction to make a left out of there, and I want to say it's a relatively new thing. That could be 5-10 years, I don't know. But I remember there was no restriction, and then one day the restriction popped up. And, you know, the signage that was chosen inside the plaza and across from the plaza, I'm not even sure meets DOT standards. It's, you know, so I think that's one reason why folks don't follow it, because they assume it's a rule that the plaza has made.
Yeah.
Not realizing it's actually a vehicle and traffic law.
In the volume, if you've lived here, you've seen the increase of people moving here. And unfortunately, that plays a major part in all our roads, the fatality. And it's a shame that it has to take a fatality to make changes. And I've said that before, with speed in the county, on a lot of the town roads, county roads, we have a lot of people now. We have a lot of children. We don't need a fatality. And my heart goes out to you. I'm very sorry. And as a community, I believe we'll work together and not just get this fixed, but other areas in the town fixed. Because that's what we're all about.
Anything else? Any other comments?
I just want to add a quick comment. I do believe, it's incorrect. They're going to go there to put the new sign in. Aiken Gate, which we do it all the time, I work with concrete, they can mark off that turning lane and put hashes through it in about 5 minutes. I think it really will give is still disregarded as it sits now.
Sure.
So
And
I do think
yeah.
when the crew goes out there to do it, I'll come volunteer
Yeah.
and help them.
Well-
do it. I think they should lay a couple paint lines there to the lane.
Agreed,
No-
yeah.
no longer there.
And I think if, Commissioner Balkind does one, that Mike Sheen will surely do it.
Yes.
So, if Jim says legally we can do it.
That might be the responsibility of the plaza.
Well, we can
We'll
talk with
find
them. We
out.
have a,
We'll find
we have a
out.
relationship with them, so.
Do you-
Barbara
she
knows
has
them
a
well.
Right, we'll get
question.
it done.
Yes, please.
Well, obviously, thank you all for listening, and making sure for speaking. Just something that I didn't, hear before I spoke, one of the landowner who spoke about, Schuylkill Park, like you guys previously mentioned, Ryan's mom, and, his main household was off of Fieldstone Drive, or Boulevard, off Schuylkill, he really did, he drove by that every day. Tori, his girlfriend, of 6 years, she's my best friend, and we've gone there with him, we play basketball, we,
Right.
some of the swings. I did hear him say, that if possible, to make it more cost-friendly, to everybody, if they had at least 15 volunteers. And, I could just promise right now
Yeah.
that if, there was going to be, memorial, like he had mentioned, not only can I get 15 volunteers, but many, many more
Right.
than 15
Well,
volunteers.
And that's what we want to do. Also, we do have another recently deceased important member of our police enforcement community, Jim Sweeney, whose family lived out there, and his wife and children grew up at Spook Hill. So that's one of the things that we're looking at, a comprehensive, memorial site that will certainly name and have plaques. But I've several times she's been in. Actually, we've developed a friendship, and as far as that park is concerned, and that's one of the reasons why we've really been pushing to try to do that. But yes, we will be calling on you for many volunteers.
I got a truck and a trailer.
Yeah.
But see, that shows what
Right.
the community is about.
Yeah, exactly.
You're young, you're taking an interest, you're gonna come and make it better.
Yep.
Everybody banding together.
Like you said, Brian's family who lives off the hill, and for even like Mrs. Weatherwax said, they have to drive by, obviously, that perfect site,
Right.
but they also have to drive by, Spook Hill, that they know that they have, that Brian has, spent so much time there. So, obviously, we can't make it happen, we can change, some things at the site, but I think just to make something that, his family can drive by, Spook Hill,
Sure.
not feel so dark about it, and bring some
All right.
light,
Well,
celebrate Brian's life.
place that we start, Randy, is let's at least get a couple of our, young residents to be members of the Friends of Spook Hill, so we can build in your comments and recommendations as well. Okay, Randy? So you can do that.
We may need you on other projects also.
But certainly here, we want that to be,
Well, we'll start here
so,
first.
we'll start
pull you
here.
in.
We'll start here with it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
it's a difficult time.
Well, all of
Thank
us
you.
will. I mean, we really will. Okay, thank you, Joey.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it very much. Tim, do you have anything else you want to report on from engineering point of view?
I think we were just gonna talk briefly about Robinson Lane. We've
Right.
got some flooding pictures to talk about if you
Right.
want, but mainly the big thing was
Yeah.
that the ADA building
Yeah.
is
Yeah, so just so everybody knows, and I'll then turn the floor over to Al, is that, we had extensive damage. Several fields, were damaged, fences, dugouts. The Challenger League Inspiration Field was the good work that we did, all damaged. And so Al, why don't you just share, the summary and then what you want to look at?
Yeah, so Tim, if you've got some pictures up there, so that's a picture of Robinson Lane up there. We saw some significant flooding in Holt Field, and we'll show some more pictures of that as well. Basically, the whole infield was destroyed completely. It goes down 2 or 3 feet, so that all has to be replaced. R4, which is the backfield, that all has to be done again. All the clay and everything else, all the work they did about 2 weeks ago has been totally destroyed. We have an estimate for the repairs for both Holt and R4 for about $18,100. We also had damage to R3 with a fence in the International Field I-2, about $43,000 worth of expenses. So those are the two big things that we really saw get destroyed there. From a Rockingham perspective, a number of the fences have been destroyed. Cost is about $7,000, including all the mulch that we lost over there. So we're looking at roughly, $68,000 to $70,000 worth of damage over there that we'd like to see if we can't do something about that tonight. In addition, we're also looking at the Challenger field. We have a company that's got to go back in there, Copeland, to take care of some of the issues they had there with the infield. And also, we did see some extensive damage in the rest of the field as well. So we're looking to try and get some of the repairs done for that. And also the dugouts on R3 and R4, which are the two backfields. So what Tim is showing you right now, that is the Holt field right there. There's a number of pictures, Tim. I don't know if you want to show a couple more, but if you can get around to where the second base, but you can see the gullies here that were created by the storm. When I walked that 2 days ago, it was still very flooded in
And
the
when I
outfield.
was out there right immediately after it, the current was unbelievably strong, going through there, as you can see. That's why it's washed out so much.
Yeah, so
And I imagine there's electrical issues we have to
yeah,
address.
we've got to address some electrical issues too as well. So again, there's a lot of stuff that's happening out there. Again, from a Challenger perspective, though, we do have, as Tim said, we have the ADA building going in there, the bathroom that'll come in there on the 16th of this month, so a couple days. That'll be installed. But again, we have a lot of work to finish up on the infield that was destroyed. So for those who don't know, they call it Inspirational Field or Challenger Field. At the edge of the infield, there's about I'll say, half-inch gap between the infield and kind of what I'll call a little bit of the outfield, where a wheelchair would potentially get stuck there. So we repaired that, Tim, about 2 or 3 months ago? And with this recent storm, it just destroyed all the work that they did there. So that is a safety issue. They have been playing. They just started playing August 28th. They've had 2 games out there now, so it's a safety issue. So Mike Brichetti he's the vice president of the Inspirational Field, and he's been out there doing a lot of good work out there to try to help the children out there. But again, that's a pretty big mess out there. So again, Holt totally destroyed, and we like to get those back so that people can go ahead and play again. R4 completely damaged. And R4, what that is, for those who don't know, R4 field is the field all the way in the back of Robinson Lane. That is a Cal Ripken field. It's a 50-70, so it's a special players' field back there. It's something they just, we're getting a lot more interest in.
And these two fields generate an awful lot of revenue for the
Yes, they
town.
generate a lot of revenue for the town as well. So, again, based on what were some of the things we did, and that's the crack that Tim is talking about right there. You can kind of see it if you go back a little bit, Tim.
Yeah.
So you can see the crack there. And it continues to expand. So that was all fixed about 2 months ago. So again, all that was destroyed, and it's got to be replaced. Hopefully, Copeland, the insurance, the company to put that in,
Well,
will take a look at that.
But, I think the important thing right now is that we get it repaired. Where there's insurance, we'll put in for that. We're going to put in, assuming we qualify for FEMA monies.
Right.
Bill already has, we've estimated.
Part of his estimate already.
$80,000.
That's
But I
correct.
think we need to get the work as soon as it's drying out, started.
Right.
So I think the board needs to authorize some money.
Right, so I agree the board needs to, and that's what I was going to get to. I was hoping the board, I want to do a resolution for the board to authorize to get some of these things fixed. Now, the dugouts are a little bit separate, the R3 and R4 dugouts. I don't know if you have those or not, Tim.
Well, let's just talk about this. So
Go ahead.
unfortunately, it's a crazy night for IT here, but these pictures are upside down. So if you can picture that yellow thing across is a straight edge, and there's a concrete curve which is to the right side of the photo, and you can see the sunlight coming between the straight edge and the surface.
Mhm.
That's because this concrete curve is starting to settle
In the ground,
Yes.
right.
and it's more than just doing the coating and making it better. We looked
You
at
gotta
trying to
remove it.
remove this curve
Right.
altogether, and it's a significant cost. And the way we had presented was we were gonna go to making this play surface the entire outfield,
Right.
right? So that's
Yes.
the next big
Right.
project. So we really need to come up with a commitment. I think there were some commitments out
Right.
there, right?
But I think, with respect to the curb, with this high water table and with the flooding, it will continue to worsen, so, and since this field is used by,
And handicapped
children
children.
and young adults with different abilities, we can't allow that to
No.
continue so we have to do something, and we rely on you, what the recommendation is.
It's a major,
Exactly,
major
yeah.
safety issue out there that we need to take care of.
Is that whole curb basically footing?
It's basically an anchored footing.
So is it deep though?
I'd have to look back at the plans. I don't think it's overly deep.
I don't think so either.
The issue is that the curb is put in to give the asphalt back.
Yeah,
Right.
And normally the curb is like outside the playfield, because if you think about it, they're paving the entire outfield. Well, the funding was not enough to do the outfield, so the curb ended up being where the play
Right.
area would normally be, so.
And it just so happens it cracks in that particular spot, again, because you said it's starting to recede in the ground a little bit, so
It's
it's,
heaving.
yeah, and then
yeah.
the winter coming
Right.
is gonna make it hurt.
make it even
Tear it
worse.
apart. I mean, there's no way it will last.
So what we want to do is, go out there,
It's gonna freeze,
get an
it's gonna heave,
estimate,
it's
see what
gonna
we
be
can
a
do
mess.
about fixing that field, Tim, because again, we don't want children to be injured on that.
It's a swamp.
So that's something we need to take a look at. And I know, Dick, you and Bill had put something in there to FEMA for
Right.
some of the work there, so hopefully that's
Well, we
going to be
put in
enough.
for around $80,000, I think, Bill, isn't
Yeah.
that what I submitted?
Yeah, so, I mean,
80,000 for all the parks though, right?
No,
No,
just
just
really,
this one.
Robinson.
and these, no pun intended, but these are ballpark numbers
Yeah.
that need to be in now to meet the threshold.
Just
We're gonna-
Robinson.
We're going to meet the threshold, and then, once we get declared, which we expect to happen this week, I was just looking at an email right now, then we come back and we get more specific numbers and specific projects, and essentially what happens is FEMA comes in, you sit down with FEMA, you go through each project,
Right.
you discuss applicability, and you go from there. So at this point, the important thing is to mitigate the problem, right? So
Right.
correct the
Right.
issues now, all right? We want to document everything properly, just like we did in the past. Frederick is well familiar with how we've done this, and photographs are a plus, right? But we don't want to let it sit in this condition, especially when we have individuals with different needs that are utilizing this
Right.
property. So I have no objection to, find funding tonight, get these projects
Over.
corrected.
Right.
And if we get FEMA reimbursement, that's not going to be for probably
Even
18
in a
months to
couple
2 years
years.
anyway.
Right.
But we
That's a lot. That's-
we
But
do have,
we can't wait.
we have fund balance. We can handle this A fund tonight if we need
Right.
to.
Yeah. So what I'm hoping to do tonight is, again, we got the estimates from Steve from Holt and R4.
Well, let's just address it right now, resolution. Jim, you can help.
Sure, I guess the one question, the first question is with respect to this, the curb issue. The way I understood Tim to say, I think his recommendation would be to remove the curb totally and extend the playing, make a uniform playing surface.
The problem is we don't know the cost for extending it, I don't think,
Well, I mean,
because
the
we've done
other
it in a while.
issue is, that's not gonna happen in the short term.
But right now, the
Right.
key is removing that curb, which becomes more of a liability, right, Al? I mean, if we can do that, we're not gonna be able to replace the field.
What
probably-
I'd like to do is see if Copeland can come in and do a temporary repair, and then figure out how to do a long-term solution, because I'm worried that you're gonna have that drop-off from the, I'll call it whatever it is, asphalt, and not even
Right.
asphalt, the rubber, down onto the cement piece.
Okay.
And so what that does is give you a gap of a couple inches, so you don't need somebody,
Well, let's
falling
then,
off that.
Tim, you guys then
I'll go back
look
and
at the,
find it, because I literally talked to the contractors that do this, and I got a pretty reliable number. I want to say it was like $140,000.
to do the outfield too.
the outfield.
It's like they have to do
Yeah.
surgery, and that's just to get rid of the curb and then,
Make it safe.
redo the.
Well, let's see if for the rest of the season, till the winter sets in, if there is a temporary fix that can
Right.
stabilize that curb and not make it dangerous, right? I think
And
that's
then
what-
I think we look for a longer-term solution as we get into the budget
Yeah,
cycle.
Right.
And that was the thought process, is to, do the whole outfield and we'll get rid of the curb, but it's that.
You're not gonna do that for the season.
No, you'll never make it in
There's
time for the
enough
season.
time to do that.
Will they be able to seal that quickly?
They did last time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Did in a couple of days.
yeah.
So it's just a question of getting the contractor back out there.
Do you have a
They don't
ball,
have to
do you have a
You have to
ballpark
wait
when it
till it
cost
dries out a
last
little
time?
bit.
It wasn't that
We don't have to
expensive.
do that.
Yeah, $9,000.
So could we, how do we do that, Jim? It's a ballpark of 9,000 to seal that.
Yeah, I mean, you could
Well-
do it not to exceed.
Well, I think,
Yeah, so I think what we do
what
is we
we're
do a
talking about is
total.
just our total lump sum, right? We're talking about 80 to 100,000 right now,
Right.
and that within that, then I don't know if we need to be specific for each thing, like fence, like, dugouts.
Or could we just say in general, these are the things it's for, and say it's approximately 80 to
I mean,
100,000?
I would be, as far as the I think to do the entire outfield, you know, if you're gonna remove the curb and redo the field.
Well, we don't want to do that tonight. We're not voting on that tonight.
Just the
Okay.
curb stabilization.
Just a
Alright, so
curb
the
fix.
Curb stabilization.
It's
it would
$9,000 last time to fix it.
But did that, was it in better shape than that?
Yeah, it wasn't,
Yeah.
it wasn't like off kilter, now it's off kilter.
Right.
So you're probably looking at maybe 15?
I was gonna say probably 20 to 25.
Oh,
Okay.
that's, yeah, that's
But
more
I gotta
reasonable.
talk to these guys.
So,
It's
so if
better to
you're
go
at
in high.
80,
So if you're at 80 right now Dick, with that, and then not including this here, you say it's another 20, so call it $100,000 round numbers. Is that
Say,
reasonable?
At this point in time, yeah, not to exceed that, and then we
Not to
can come
exceed
back
it,
and look at it.
and in
Yeah.
order to make the resolution, do we want to say specifically what it's for?
Let's identify the items that it will be used on. We don't want it to go to, you know, the snack, you know, stand or something like that.
Right, right, that's why I want to make sure we're very specific on what this is for.
But without a specific dollar breakout, we just say,
Correct.
here's the list of items to be remediated. We'll assign, you know, the
Right.
engineers and Steve, you know, to supervise it. Al, you can, you know, be the board representative to
Absolutely.
supervise it.
So
Unless Angela.
I want to make a motion that we allocate out of the A fund balance $100,000 to include Holt, R4, R3, I2, and the $20,000 for Challenger Field.
second,
And do we also want to include
Oh, we
the
have-
dugouts?
Did you include, yes,
Wait, wait,
because
wait, Steve has a question.
Steve,
Dugout, fence, got Steve.
Steve had 18,000 for dugouts, as I recall.
18,000 for the,
On that list, there was some damage at Rockingham and Quiet Acres as well, so I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
yeah, so in that $100,000, there's another roughly 7,000 for Rockingham between the fence repair that you had quoted, another
Okay.
720 for the mulch.
Yeah,
So,
so, you know, that's about right, because I recall about 80,000 for Robinson.
yeah, so I'm thinking it's 80,000,
Yeah.
and then at
Let's-
80,000, there was 6,000 there, Dick, for Regency, so.
Okay.
So
okay.
we've already got that included, so I think if you go to 100,000, that'll include the other 20,000
Yeah.
that Tim was talking
Right.
what
about.
about the mulch replacement at Quiet Acres?
Excuse me?
The mulch replacement at Quiet Acres.
I'd like to get that done as soon as possible.
But that's
Do you
7,000?
have a ballpark for that?
I included it in
Yeah.
that list there.
Okay, do you
Yeah.
have that?
I don't know if I have it with me.
I don't know it.
I believe, I'm going off, I think it's like $800 for the.
I know it was 720 for the mulch over at Regency, so it's approximately the same?
About the same?
Yes, I think within 100,000, Chris, we're pretty close, it's 101, 100,000.
I lost about 20 yards and it's somewhere.
You know, 720 for mulch replacement.
Right,
25,000 for damaged dugouts. Fence repair was 6,000, baseball fields 18,001, Inspiration Field, he had 30,000.
And we
this
have
initial
43,000
estimate. And then
for-
we have the labor and what have you.
and then we have 43,000 for R3 and I2
Yeah.
fences.
So,
So I think 100 will cover it.
yeah.
So anyway, I made that motion for 100,000 to be allocated out of fund balance to cover all those items. If we need to come
So
back,
I guess my question, is this is being done with forced labor?
with what labor?
In-house labor?
Uh,
The majority of it.
Majority will be, yeah,
Okay, because no contract can exceed 30,000
right.
or 35.
I second it.
A motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Thank you, everyone. So,
So,
you know,
I guess-
Tim, Steve, Al, you know, take the lead on this. and
Absolutely.
Report back.
Any idea when you can get started on all this stuff, Tim? Got a lot of stuff on your plate.
Yes.
Needs to stop raining.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
7:30 tomorrow.
that, we've covered a lot of territory. So now we'll go into the resolutions, and as I mentioned earlier, I'd like to move Resolution 2021, -122, that's the resolution concerning the $5,000 to the Historical Society. Jim has a resolution, I prepared actually a draft agreement, which Jim and I have reviewed. It sets forth the legal basis for it as well. I think, Beth, you've looked at that, and you folks are in agreement.
Okay.
Any comments? Bill, Beth, anybody like to make? Eileen?
I would just like to thank the board, on the Historical Society and for your support.
because we're in the village, we are really the Village Historical Society. We are the town of
Right.
Wappinger and its surrounding hamlets. So we are very grateful for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we, think that what you have done to, preserve and protect the history, of course, we have wonderful historians done it, but we really think that has to continue. And I think, what would be good at some point, Joey, you can arrange for the town board members to have a tour, particularly with the new, building in the back renovated, so we can see that. And I will, raise during our discussion during the budget is perhaps some ongoing program like East Fishkill and others have. But Beth, we can talk about what that may look like, okay?
I just would like to echo what was said at the previous meeting. In order to provide a level of funding to this entity, we have to do this in a way that is consistent with town law. In this particular fashion, this is consistent with town law section 64, 17A to 17B, or sub 17A, 17B. So I appreciate the attorney and the staff here finding an ability for us to do this. My position on this is that this should be an annual, not going to say subsidy, but an annual, probably a .4 contract line to this entity, because I believe that we and the taxpayers of this town do have a moral obligation to, at the very least, to support this organization, which just coincidentally last night, I just happened to be on the photo gallery that you host. Just, I don't know, I Googled and stumbled upon, and of course, 2 hours later, I was still there.
It's amazing.
But the quality of the scans, I mean, you can zoom in on people's faces from like 1910. I mean, it's crazy. So that alone is an incredible resource for amateur historians and those that have an interest in history. So I know you take pride in that photo gallery.
I just, one more thing, I would love to have you all be really aware of the Wapages Historical Society website. We have a fabulous, fabulous website, and hopefully people in the community, if they hear this, will go on it. There's a
Right.
tremendous amount of research articles on there, there's photographs, and there's a tremendous amount, and Bill and Eileen have been working on that website for a while. And we're very proud of it. So not only the gallery,
Yeah.
go to our website, there's just tons of historical information.
Well, it's very impressive, and if we're not already linked from our homepage to it, I think we need to be.
We are.
I
We already are.
think we need to also, after approving this tonight, I think that's a good excuse to perhaps issue either a press release or a post on social media that cross-promotes your resources as well. And with that, I would like to make the motion that we adopt Resolution 122.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
And let me just say one thing also. As you know, my mother was involved directly with the Historical Society, and she always got great joy out of being in character with my Aunt Trish. Although some of the selfies were a little scary that she would send, but she started having some minor medical issues at the Mizzier homestead. That's when we first became aware that there was something going on. And as she navigated some of the challenges that she had medically, she continued to attend the picnics and the barbecues and the photos. As I was last night looking through your photo gallery, I came across photos of my mother that I hadn't seen before attending the 2019 picnic and barbecue. So again, I greatly appreciate everything your organization does for history, but also for my family. Thank you.
You involve the schools, right? You give tours for the schools? Good. No, that's very good. That's something to capitalize on, because it's important to get the youth involved. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming out. We really appreciate that.
We did this in spite of Joey, no, I'm kidding.
No, Okay.
Just kidding.
And moving on to the next item, which is Resolution 2021-114. This is a resolution appointing an assistant supervisor of buildings and grounds. Also includes approval of the MOA that we've discussed before. This is with respect to one of Steve's very valuable employees that Steve wants to recognize and also help take over some of his other responsibilities so he can get to his list. What is it now? Al, you told me 150, is it?
I think it's 175 now.
But,
I gave him 25 the other day.
Dutchess County Human Resources, have approved this. Sarah's negotiated. Jim, would you like to make any other comments about this?
No, it's a provisional appointment pursuant to Dutchess County Civil Service. It is a competitive position, but it is a newly created position in the county. It doesn't exist in any other town. And at some point in time, they may develop a test. But this is a provisional appointment till such time as a list exists. And we've structured it as a provisional, a promotional appointment. And so his position, or at least one of the positions, would be held open until such time as he becomes permanent in it, so.
Steve, you want to make any comments about Sal and what you want to accomplish?
Yeah, this proposal tidies up a lot of loose ends that we had as far as job title went and the capability of having someone that can operate all the machines that we have available to us. So this takes care of that and, shows him a little increase in the pay rate. He's demonstrated what he's capable of doing with us and, it's on par with anything you would contract out.
Thank you.
I'll make that
Appreciate
motion.
the support of the board.
Yeah, no issues here.
We have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Chris had the motion.
I'll
You
second it.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
There are some blanks on here that need to be filled in, though. So there's budget line blanks.
Frederick? The hourly pay,
Well, we got the
which
rate.
shall be paid from budget line blank.
If we don't have
They
the
just
line.
got to fill it in.
Yeah, if we don't have the line, then it's going to be,
119, if I recall correctly. I believe so. 7110.119, I believe is Sal's line.
all right, so
Well, but that would be
You have to
for the
yeah.
old position, so.
So it'd be 120 probably, but I think what we need to do is, at some point, I don't know if we can, but clean up the lines so that they're in order of, Steve and then his number 2, and, well, you won't have a history then on the lines if you do that.
I agree.
And you should probably have that for budget time too, so you got
Yes.
the new
I don't
line.
know if you
so-
can, because then you can't.
Well, I guess that's a question for Frederick.
Well, either way, whatever the
I mean, I
appropriate
think-
line
I
is.
think historically, if you keep the budget line intact, then going back, it's easier to track what the spending has been.
Yeah, but the problem is,
Creators.
we've had seasonal employees on those lines, part-time employees on those
I
lines.
straightened that out.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah,
All right,
'cause
so whatever line the comptroller
Decides.
determines
Yeah.
is appropriate. If we don't need to know this right now. I just didn't know if the line needed to be filled in on here.
Okay.
Okay.
Because we're going to see, when we go through the budget, we're going to see this anyway.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Did we complete the vote on that?
Yeah,
We did.
What's the amount?
It's on there. It says $30 per
30.
hour. It's on number, section 3 there.
Yeah.
No, I mean, on that, on the part that you told me, from line to 2 line,
It's coming,
there's also an amount.
it's coming from A fund. It's going to be A fund balance. Where
Right.
is this coming from?
No, not from, how much is the amount?
$30 an hour.
No.
No, he means the total amount.
Oh, the
Is
appropriation?
there, does there need to be a change in appropriation, Frederick, for the increase in salary?
Yeah, we need to increase the line by.
Why don't we just change that, strike that, subject to further amendment by the town controller?
Okay. So we have an amended resolution based on what town council just advised, so may I have a motion?
moved.
I'll second it.
Hold on for 1 second. Let me clean this up right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me make a motion to amend the resolution, okay, amend section 3 of the resolution, where it says the hourly pay of the assistant supervisor of buildings and grounds shall be $30 per hour, which shall be paid bi-weekly from a budget line determined appropriate by the town controller from a fund balance.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
That's my motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion pass. Now, a motion to pass the amended, resolution.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Resolution 2021-115. This is a resolution authorizing a memorandum of agreement with the CSEA, capital CSEA, Town of Wappinger Highway Unit for 2021. Again, remember, the contract had expired last year. We had negotiated it. This is the result, which is actually, very, favorable to both of us
Both
and
parties.
the. Yep.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
And on the question, I just want to thank the negotiation team. I have had the opportunity once before to be on one of these teams, and I will never do it again. So I just want to thank the team. I think we had council members on this, or at least one council member.
Yeah, Chris was on
Okay.
it, Dick was on it, and so was Sarah.
Anyway, I'm just going to leave it right there. It's not an easy job. It's very difficult, especially when you have contentious negotiations, and we are in challenging economic times right now. So my thanks to that team for doing a good job.
Okay.
Very nice. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
I don't think we voted yet, though.
No, I was going
Thought
to
we
just
did.
call it.
Oh,
So
okay.
we have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Thank you. Let's see, moving on, Frederick, we're going to be now at 2021-116. This is a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds. Would you please summarize this?
So this was, there was an MOA that was signed between the town, one of the town employees, and team for IT, web services, things like general website maintenance, posting minutes, and hosting Zoom sessions.
And we had approved that.
Yeah, so
MOA.
it was approved July 26, but the funding wasn't discussed. So
Okay.
this is basically to fund that, it's a new line, A1680.402. It's going to be a contractual line, and it will be outside of the payroll. So the pay rate is $39.89. A maximum of 5 hours a week from June 1, 2021 to end of the year.
Right.
So,
How many hours does this assume? 5 hours per week?
yes, 5 hours per
Okay.
week. So we estimated that it would be about 30 weeks at the $39.89, 5 hours a week.
And this is the one we just kind of missed on the last meeting? We missed it
Yeah.
by a day or something? Okay.
Yeah, so included in the line is an amount that was already, it was calculated that the employee had spent time about, 9,300. So this will just be additional 6,050. So we are requesting about 15,500 in total from fund balance.
Costs associated with remote meetings could be reimbursable under the FEMA declaration for COVID, too.
Which is good to know.
But that particular declaration has no ending. It's going on forever at this point. So we can capture these costs through, when we discuss the budget specifically, because there were a number of costs that were associated with COVID. That said, on the other side of it, they'll say you're getting American Rescue Funds also, which can pay for some of those things. So we'll have those discussions during budget, but I'm not concerned about any additional costs relevant to remote meetings, Zoom, anything like that. We had no choice. We kept this
Right.
place running.
We're ahead of the curve.
We were
Yeah.
doing everything we could to remain transparent. We were running Zoom meetings on cable television before anybody else was. So
Agreed.
whatever that cost, as far as I'm concerned, it gave the
It's well
public the
worth it.
ability to see what was going on.
And let me say, based on our meeting today, there are still some municipalities, in light of the governor's strengthening of the restrictions on meetings, that are following that. We're going to stay open,
Yeah.
in our public meetings unless there's really something bad that comes out. But that's why we're holding this meeting rather than doing Zoom.
We did have the conversation because the governor does allow for an extension of remote meeting opportunity. Right now, there's no data to suggest in the town of Wappinger that we would have any problems with having open meetings. If that changes, we have the ability to revert back.
Right.
Again, we
Exactly.
have been leaning forward on this to stay as open and transparent as possible. If it costs us a few dollars to navigate COVID, I have no objection.
I don't either.
So included in the resolution are also two other lines for
Right. Please,
two
this one.
highway mechanics, just a modest amount for regular hourly pay. I think one of them is 1,500, the other one is 2,000
Correct.
from DB fund balance.
I have no issue with these.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I'll make a
That's all.
motion to approve then.
Okay, we have a motion,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Thank you, Frederick, very much. The next item is Resolution 2021-117. This is a resolution authorizing the settlement of tax certiorari proceedings regarding DP 123 LIC /DP 126 LLC. Jim, why don't you
So
discuss
that's a
that?
mouthful, but
Yeah.
this is the BJ's property that was purchased by Diamond Properties, that's the DP. They purchased this, there was a foreclosure sale by the bank, and then subsequently, the bank had an auction, and Diamond Properties purchased the property at $12.5 million. They had taken the position that that's what it was worth,
What did they pay?
12.5.
Yeah.
After some negotiations, we came to a resolution of this with the assessors, Craig Wallace, and the attorneys for DP Diamond Partners, to reduce the assessment from
Right.
$17,500 to $14,850 for 2020, and then $14 million for 2021. They have waived any town refund of taxes for 2020. 2021 assessment roll is for the tax period that would be collected in January. So based on this, the town does not have any refund liability on these reductions. And then, as you may know, Diamond Properties is looking to make certain improvements on the property in the future, and based on those, so once those improvements are made, the value will most likely go up.
Right.
Subsequently anyway.
So navigating this particular tax cert was very important, and I know when Christian talked to us about this months and months ago.
Again, so there was also
Past.
prior years.
Right.
Regarding the bank that foreclosed, a prior owner, so this has been,
Very
basically
Been
Convoluted.
Ongoing.
Yeah,
about
ongoing, right.
8 years, I think it goes back to 2015, so at least 6 years of tax certs on this property because of the retail sector.
This, when he was here previously, we said, we really need to try our best to keep this north of $12 million. We're coming in at 14.8 and 14 on this. I understand that the only thing that's left up there is BJ's right now, but there is a lot of opportunity for growth.
Absolutely.
There's other opportunities up there as well that I know are being explored. But what we need to understand as a town is that if this saw a significant assessment reduction, not only would it affect the town, it also would affect the fire district, and this being the largest commercial rateable in the fire district could really send a shockwave
Tax increase to
into
everybody
a
else.
small budget like that.
Right.
So I want to thank you and Christian for approaching this the way you did. And I hope that we're going to see value increase on that property. I know there's been ongoing conversations with
Exactly.
Diamond, and I'd be
Right.
interested to hear the latest at some point, because I think that there are certainly opportunities there, and once the economy gets stabilized again, perhaps we'll see some new development.
Okay. Have a
Make a motion.
Motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Next item, Resolution 2021-118 is also a tax cert. This is a resolution authorizing the settlement of tax certiorari proceedings regarding 93 NYRPT LLC. Jim, would you like to summarize?
So this is the plaza with Skechers and, I don't know.
Party
What
City.
else is, yeah, Party
Party
City.
City's still
Next to
in
the
there.
Subaru dealership.
Uh-huh.
A portion of the property is vacant. So on, same issue, same situation here. There is no refund liability for the town. So 2020, there is no change in assessment. And then for 2021 assessment roll, there's a reduction of $500,000 from $4 million to $3.5 million.
So on this particular property,
This
we have-
is in the
Yeah, you have to be concerned also because inside
It's
the
a
village
village.
boundaries, major changes to assessment can really have a significant impact if there's a refund liability. I appreciate the work you did on this one as well, and I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Thank you. Next item is Resolution 2021-119. This is in the matter of the increase and improvement of facilities of the United Wappinger Water District in the town of Wappinger, Dutchess County, New York. This goes back to a number of months ago, where the town board did approve after public hearings the interconnection, what we call the interconnection agreement and undertaking, with the village. And somehow the resolution dropped, through the cracks. So this is, again, the water interconnection. We have had meetings, and Tim, maybe you can summarize those meetings.
So we asked for an extension due to COVID, and the state pretty much shut down anyway, the funding figures. There was a letter that was sent out early spring that there was going to be a mass reevaluation of all the grant monies that were pre-authorized. They gave a certain cutoff date that the town needed to respond, which we did, that we were still in the game for this project. And then I think it was in May.
Right.
timeframe,
Roughly.
we decided we were gonna check in with the village, on the status of their progress, because it's a joint project and they needed to have their pipe and infrastructure in, and then the town's gonna basically connect to it. It was basically discussed back in May that the village had to stop work on proceeding, going to bid and what have you on this construction, because they didn't have the appropriate funding at the time. We sent our letters in to EFC, basically kind of tweaking this project a little bit to try to not so heavily rely on the village, but the state was like, it's an intermunicipal grant, and it's the basis of the definition. So supervisor reached out to the mayor. We had a couple conference calls with EFC. Supervisor got the mayor in on our last call with EFC. We basically committed that the village will fund their part of the deal, and that basically resuscitated the whole project. So
Thank you.
we've been working with EFC over the past couple weeks, and again, we kind of presented that there's a checklist of items that EFC requires to basically continue down the financial road that the project needs. And this basic bond resolution, 2021-120 is
Right.
the real core of what EFC wants.
So it's 2.6 million for the town, 800K for the village, and how much is the grant? $1 million? And
Like 1,053,000.
that would be split in equal proportions.
No, so if you do it a different way, the total project estimate is $3,452,000. That's the town and village share.
Right.
Out of that, the village's cost is $818,000.
Right.
They're getting their grant money from a different source.
Okay, so that full 1 million against the 2.6?
The town at $2.634 million.
So it's 1.6 then?
So if I may, so there's two resolutions here.
We have two.
So 2021-119 is what's called a 202B resolution.
Right.
which is to authorize the actual improvements. And then 2021-120 is the bond resolution to fund the improvements.
I was
Right.
just trying to do the overview for the.
Yeah,
Right,
which
sure.
you're right, so it.
Right.
So that when we look at the million plus slightly of grant money.
Right.
That goes toward basically our cost, although it's a joint intermunicipal agreement and.
So out of the 2.6, we get $1 million off.
Million.
Right.
So what we typically do when we bond projects that are subject to grant, we bond for the entire cost of the project, not including the grant money.
Right.
So again, we've talked about, just because you adopt a bond resolution doesn't mean you gotta borrow it.
Right.
So, there's two facets in this project. There's one, which is an interconnection at Losey Road between the village and the town. And then there's a second portion of this project would be to establish a connection under Route 9 from the village up to Woodhill Green. So that's those two facets of it are the intermunicipal agreement portion of it. And back last year when this kind of got off the track, one of the issues was the village had issues with water quality and was looking for an alternative source. There was some concern that the village would look to this interconnection as this source. We didn't think we had sufficient capacity.
Right.
Since then, the village has undertaken to look to get a backup source of water supply from
Town of Poughkeepsie.
from the town of
Yes.
Poughkeepsie.
Right.
Through over on
Delaware.
Delaverne, I guess.
Yeah.
Which they had years ago.
Right.
When they had problems with the well field previously. So that issue has been addressed.
But the key element, though, is that this will not only provide backup to the town if something should go bad with one of our, pipes, and we need to pull it off, from the village, but also it helps us with getting water to Woodhill Green, which, has failing, wells and serious problems. So this will address a couple of issues for the town.
So Woodhill Green would have to buy into this?
Yeah, they'll have to do that. We've been going to meet, once we now have gotten the mayor on board, then we're going to meet with Woodhill Green to talk about what the cost would be to them.
And what happens to the village? Do they also have to, is there a buy-in for them, a fee that we charge?
No,
or is that-
no. Because this, go ahead, you can explain it, but
Jim
it's
probably knows better, but there's an agreement in place, and I think
intermunicipal agreement already.
were the rates discussed, and it was.
Yes.
Yes.
Because it's an emergency, the wording, I guess, is it's an emergency situation that the town would basically charge the cost to make the water, I think.
That's what I was getting to. Yeah.
Right, so I mean, there's no buy-in fee for the
Right.
village. This is an emergency interconnection, and what the agreement is, if water is used on an emergency basis, we sell it to the village at cost, we sell it to them at our cost, they sell it to us at their cost.
Okay.
We had approved that agreement a while back,
Right.
and this is just now because we had this delay of COVID and then the village uncertainty on the financial capability.
So this works kind of like we're doing with Wildwood, the way, it's the same kind of situation where we'll bond it all up front. You get the $2.5 million, whatever I think they got for grant money already.
Right.
but you pull for the
2.8
full-
up for
2.8,
Wildwood,
And
yeah.
you bond for the full amount now, like you just said. Then what'll happen is you'll get the $1 million reimbursement here, just like
Right.
you would the 2.8. Okay.
And as I recall, Tim and Jim, this is a 40%, reimbursement,
I believe so,
so
yeah.
as we look at, they'll go up to $1,090,000, or 54, I think it was, $1,054,000, was it? Anyway, they'll go up to that, so that will work out, should be to 40% of the cost of the
Okay,
project.
got it.
Is it fair to say that we're going to be charging for the water that is going to be consumed? So there will be a
Yes.
revenue aspect to
Correct.
this
Correct.
as well. Help me understand also the other connection on or around Losey Road and Myers Corners Road. Originally, that was termed an emergency connection. Is that still termed an emergency
Yes.
connection? Okay, and there will be a meter on that connection if it's needed for an emergency purpose?
And Mike will be able to control it on our side, turn it on and off.
Good.
I just don't, I'm just not clear on where that specifically is going to be, because the hydrants don't come all the way down Losey to Myers Corners. I think they are at the next,
That's the village portion that they have to actually run
Okay. All right,
That's
so.
their problem.
Let's just make sure there's a hydrant there someplace too, so that it
I
improves.
believe there is
God
in the
forbid,
drawing.
yeah.
Okay, this way that benefits everybody,
Exactly.
right, from a public safety standpoint. All right, I have no further questions about this. I think, this is a proactive position to take, especially when we have two completely independent water supplies. We've had a similar conversation with New York City regarding the water supply running under our town.
Right.
Making it available for emergency use, right? So I think this is consistent in a different part of the town, and I think redundancy when we're dealing with water, after all, water is a commodity now. This is consistent with what our mission has been, so I will move this resolution.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. So the companion resolution will be Resolution 2021-120. This is the resolution concerning the issuance of the bond. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
On the
Okay,
bond
motion.
resolution, you should take a roll call.
Roll
Bond,
call.
yes, okay. Roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Councilman Beal,
Aye.
Councilwoman Detina,
Yes.
Councilman Phillips.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. So the resolution passed. Thank you. Let's see, the next resolution will be the one that Jessica had sent out the email to concerning your yoga.
That one's just gonna be by motion.
Yeah, do it right now since before we go to correspondence.
Great.
Well, I have the there's a.
Oh, yeah, the budget thing, that's right. But let's do our, since Jessica's
Sure.
been waiting.
That's okay. So we had, prior to COVID, hired 2 instructors, one for senior chair yoga and one for Zumba. Unfortunately, during the shutdowns, the person that we had hired for yoga passed away, not of COVID, but did pass away. The woman, Meg, who we have being our Zumba instructor, is also a certified chair yoga instructor who became certified under the tutelage of the person that we had hired and passed away. So just because back when we hired them, we did hire them each for specific positions, I was just looking for a motion to acknowledge Meg Foster as the chair yoga instructor for the senior center at a rate of $60 per class.
Do you have this covered in your budget?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No issues then?
So, and she's already an employee of the town, all the paperwork's done. It's just to confirm her in this additional role.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
Jessica.
Thank you.
The next resolution, 2021-121. This is the resolution scheduling town board meetings to adopt the budget for fiscal year 2022. Jim, why don't you describe?
So this is the standard resolution that we adopt annually. Again, it's subject to change, and it specifically says that. So basically, at the next town board meeting, in September 27th, there would be adopting the benefit assessment rolls for the special districts, which were created by the assessor, and then to set a public hearing on the charges, the benefit assessment charges. That will be for that, as well as setting the public hearing for the O&M charges for the water and sewer districts. This calls for a special town board meeting sometime after that. I don't know if you want to do it. We could do that at the next meeting. If you have any.
Well, if
choice, right?
everybody has their calendar available,
Can we just do the 30th?
30th?
Thursday, September 30th.
That's fine with me.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. So the Thursday, September 30th is the delivery of the town
Actual
clerk's
budget, right.
That actually may be subject to a Zoom meeting, if you like, because
Can you do it at the 27th meeting, regular town board meeting?
if it's ready.
Yeah, if it's ready.
So,
3 days?
if that's.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it will be. What?
3 days soon.
So, you know, I mean, I think what you can do is, if you schedule it for the 30th,
Yeah, that's
it would be fine. Statutorily, it has to, it's due from the supervisor
Right.
to the town clerk on the 30th, and then it has to be presented to the town board no later than October the 4th.
So does that have to be laid on the desk on the 30th?
Yes,
Yes.
that's all.
So
So,
then
I mean,
One of those 4 days.
one of the other options is, again, under the Zoom, you know, the Zoom
Yeah.
provision, the meeting, it's usually the shortest meeting of the
It's-
year.
Yeah.
Right, how do you
2
lay it on the
seconds.
desk then if it's a Zoom meeting?
Well,
Well, let's have the meeting, you know, let's know,
Okay.
if everybody's
It's
available,
fine.
come
30th is
on
fine.
the 30th,
Fine.
and we
then you
just
do
do
it on
it.
the 30th.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what time did you want
Yeah,
to do?
what time do you want to
You
do
want
it?
to do it earlier? Because it's only going to be,
I don't mind doing it earlier, yes.
you want to do it,
That's
you want to do like
fine.
at 6 o'clock? We can't do a 4, Joe, come on, some people have jobs. But
6 o'clock?
Really bad.
6 o'clock?
I mean, if you want to do it earlier, all you need is a quorum. You only need 3 people, so.
Well, we want to give everybody an
No,
opportunity.
6 o'clock on
6
the
o'clock.
30th.
This way I can actually get it. Well, somehow you guys will figure out a way to stay here till 11. though. That's the only problem.
Stop it, stop it.
No, we won't.
No.
Just for you.
6 PM to 6:15?
Yeah,
Last time it
6:15,
was
the
fine.
All right,
following
so,
day.
so that would be September 30th.
Yes.
And
Be
then,
October 1st.
The,
It's going to do it all the way through.
the next board meeting would be, the,
9/27, right? Or no?
No, you said October 12th, right?
right,
Oh, October 12th, yeah. That's
So-
Tuesday, October 12th.
Because Columbus Day is
Right.
holiday.
That's fine.
Right.
okay?
Yep.
And then, you know, that would be, you know, continuing budget discussions. The meeting, the regular town board meeting after that would be Monday, October 25th.
Yep.
Again, should the board wish to schedule any additional meetings, they're free to do so. There is one change here regarding the public hearing on the budget. We have it here as Monday, November 8th, but it can be held no later than the Thursday after Election Day, which would be November 4th. When I first did this, I was thinking that
The
the
5th.
9th was Election Day, but it's actually the 2nd.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
early.
it's
Which is
the
the
2nd.
earliest it can be.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's the Tuesday after the first Monday in November.
After the
So,
second full moon or something like that?
but, no,
Quarter moon.
So November
Election-
4th is the date.
Yes.
So this could be,
Yeah.
the latest it can be
November
is Thursday, November 4th. That would be and again, if the board adopts a preliminary budget earlier, you could advance that public hearing date.
Sure.
Should you so choose.
Okay.
So, but the latest it can be is Thursday, November 4th.
Okay. So right now, we'll set it as November 4th.
November 4th.
Okay, for the purpose of this resolution. We
That's
can
for
change
final,
that.
final budget approval, or is that for, public
That's for
hearing?
the first public, that would be for the public hearing on the budget.
We should
And then the
probably
budget
put
has
this
to
on
be
the
adopted.
webpage.
The public hearings must be closed by November
On the
15th,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
budget must be adopted by November 20th.
And then we have a regular town board meeting on Monday, November 8th.
Right.
So we got marathon going on there.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's okay.
No, every year. That's fine. Okay, so November 20th is the cutoff date for the
Correct.
final, okay. Okay. So, everybody got it?
Based on the changes, I make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. The last resolution, unless there's anything off the floor, Resolution 2021-123, it's approval, acknowledgement of the correspondence log.
Move.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Any items for special consideration, new business?
Joey, can you do me a favor, when you're in the office, if you can just prepare what we just discussed with the meeting dates and times, and just send it out to the town board, just so we have it.
And
on
we'll get it on the
Put it on
website.
the
and-
website.
Yeah, this way, because I mean, I jotted it down, but just in
But,
case.
I
Yeah.
agree.
It will go on the homepage calendar, and will be sent out to some of the local media outlets. And
Joe, does Joe have to post this legally, advertisement?
Just the public hearing notice.
Just the public hearing notice,
Well,
okay.
actually, and then the benefit assessment roll.
Right.
here, and,
Okay, okay, so then we'll do that.
Resolutions that we can forward to them.
Just a couple items real quick. My thanks to all that attended the 9/11 20th anniversary. It was just as anticipated, it was better attended than normal because it was on a Saturday. We would not have been able to facilitate all those cars if it wasn't for the fast-acting highway superintendent, Mike Sheehan, and his crew, who came together within a less than 2-week time period, and the engineer, determining how we can put a gravel parking lot with proper drainage, which was right before the most rain we've ever gotten. It worked. It didn't bring it into the park. It is certainly appreciated that we have the ability to safely park vehicles there, especially when we had that event going on. Shout out to Anthony Segretti, who was in attendance at the event, the owner of Old Hopewell Commons, who we could not have done that without his support. Thank you to Joey for the signage. We'll talk more about better placement of the signage. I know everything was put up just for that event, but you know, making the sign colors are perfect, but some of those signs need to be on their own posts, I think. We'll talk about that at some point offline. The mums are being put in for $350, which is what is part of the contract we approved earlier. They have to wait for a certain time to do the mums. Sounds crazy, but the mums couldn't be done before 9/11 because just the way the soil quality was, so that's being done over there. And my point in bringing that up is that there's ongoing improvements going to on in that location. Also, shout out to Lee Burns, who has his photography on display here. Wapengers Falls Toyota not only owns that property, which we have a license or an easement on, I don't remember what it's called, but they also mow the lawn, and they also pay for the power. So we greatly appreciate that. The bugler that filled in, I did not catch her name. I texted Danielle Masterson. Brianna, okay, so I just want to give a shout out to Brianna for stepping in and playing bugle last minute. Danielle was under the weather. We did mention Danielle's tribute that she spearheaded in the village, which is incredible. If you have not seen it, be sure to stop by Mizzier Park and take a look at that tribute that Danielle Masterson, Kaylin, spearheaded with village, with the mayor and village residents. It's very impressive. This Sunday is the Town of Wappinger 5th Annual First Responder Awards. We didn't promote it much last week because we didn't want to overshadow the 9/11 service. This is basically the town's opportunity to recognize our first responders that have gone above and beyond. There are a good number of calls that I would recommend that folks attend this or at least watch it on TV. You'll be amazed with the outcomes that the differences that are made in this town by our first responders, lives that have been saved. These are not things that we promote or talk about. These are things that happen on a daily basis in this town, and this gives us an opportunity as a town to recognize our first responders for going above and beyond. There's some incredible outcomes. That'll be on Sunday at 6 p.m. here at Town Hall. We could not do it last year because of COVID. We feel confident that we can do it this year without an issue, so it will be well attended. And I'm going to talk to Joey and the supervisor offline about the logistics of that particular evening. That's at 6 o'clock. Town Board is invited to be there if you can make it, and the general public is encouraged to attend. It will be a successful event. That's all I have. Thank you.
I do want to say, I want to remind the public to please come to our town hall and look at these magnificent art pieces that are here for you. They're amazing that this is in our town and we have the privilege to look at this. And thank you again for your hard work and your outpouring on 9/11. And the lady that was here also, she left. She's wonderful too.
Yeah.
Your town is overwhelming.
That's Rose De
Rose,
Niro.
thank you. So the
Yeah.
residents, please come and see
Right.
this. It's here until the end of the month,
Yeah.
I believe.
I do, actually.
Okay.
So, first of all, I want to thank Bill and the team here, the town board, for the nice 9/11 ceremony we had here. It was excellent. We also had another nice one at the New Hackensack Firehouse. Howie Prager did a really nice job as well on that. So again, thank you. That was very, very special to all of us. Second, I want to thank Steve Frazier. I know he's not in the audience now, but he's been working with the residents and I at Marks Field, and he actually just ordered 4 new tennis nets today, and also a 200-foot of the windscreen, something they've been asking for quite some time over there at Marks Field. Again, he just ordered that today. hopefully, we're also going to get the specific one for the pickleball court, which I think Steve ordered, so good news for the residents there. Last, I want to thank Ed Schurig and Rose again, for their beautiful displays here. Excellent. I think everybody should get an opportunity come in and take a look at the artwork and everything they did. They really did a spectacular job, so thank you for bringing your talent in here. Thanks very much. That's all I have.
Chris, you'd like to say anything?
I'm good. Everything's good.
Yeah, I'd like to also mention that the village had a wonderful candlelight service. I could not go to New Hackensack because I needed to go attend the village, represent the town, and it was an amazing, Sarah, actually quite moving. And if you haven't been out there, please look at the flags that were laid. Danny and Heather, laid those with 21 volunteers, and it was amazing, feat. I need to end this on, seems like more often than it should be, on a very sad note. A very dear friend of ours, Bill Dengler, has passed away. And our hearts go out to Joe. Actually, it's very tough to say this, but Bill was very religious in attending. The board meetings would sit right there. And I'm really sad to see him go. And there'll be calling hours at McCool and Hopewell on Wednesday, September 15th. That's just coming up 2 days. And the hours are from 2 to 4 and 7 to 9, and services at the funeral home on Thursday at 12:30. So, Joe, our hearts go out to you. Let us know whatever we can do. So,
Certainly.
Bill will be missed, but never forgotten.
And I think at the next meeting, Joey, we should take that chair right there and keep it open.
Yes.
I mean, Bill, when you say religious, I mean, that's putting it lightly.
Yeah.
Bill,
Yes.
Bill was sitting in that chair, I mean, for years, and always never hesitated to offer his opinion, which we greatly appreciated. Joe also, and Joe, if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I know she's probably watching us because she does.
And Dick. Remember Dick?
Oh, yeah.
Three amigos.
Oh,
There
yeah,
were
yeah,
three
exactly.
buddies. the
But,
three.
in
Yeah.
his honor, the least we can do is keep that chair empty at the next meeting, because he was, definitely a common theme here for years.
Many years.
Certainly our condolences.
Real gentleman.
Oh, yeah.
Real gentleman.
Yeah. And we can write something up later as well.
Sure.
Okay, the next is a motion going executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel issues, some contract matters, and security issues. Sure. Move.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Thank you.